Chapter 763. This was what the Heavenly Talisman Emperor had left behind. Inheritance. The power of the 13 infinity treasures gathered into one and gave off an unparalleled light. Not only did it block Gu Tiansha's tentacles, it even started to counterattack. Oh, 13 infinity treasures. Not bad, not bad. Gu Tiansha looked at the light of the infinity treasures blocking him. Unfortunately, these people haven't cultivated to a high enough level and can't unleash the true power of the infinity treasures. If they were all sages, they could use the infinity treasures to some extent and force me to retreat. Now, they're very ordinary and can be captured by me. After I get these treasures, I can collect the other infinity treasures and control 36 of them. I can fuse them into my body and control the power of the heaven realm before devouring the heaven realm. Rumble. The Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha, moved again, and the power of the universe of the sun and moon became even more ferocious. In the end, it formed a true sun and a bright moon above his head. The sun burned fiercely and wanted to burn everything. The moon was cold and gave off cold air. It was the essence of yin and yang, and it wanted to freeze everything. The so-called yin and yang were in the sun and moon. Bang, 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 bang. 13 explosions rang out consecutively, breaking through the 13 streams of boundless power. Puff, the 3 dukes and 8 marquises hiding in the world tree, as well as Fong Lin, all coughed up a mouthful of blood. Marquis Dashi was no exception. Only when Hong's face was pale and his yuan qi had been damaged. He had not suffered any serious injuries because his cultivation was the most profound. This Lord of the Sun and Moon is really ferocious. Marquis Dashi panted heavily. The world tree gave off a green air current and wrapped around him. He immediately recovered his strength. The world tree hid the azure dragon, the white tiger, the vermilion bird, the black tortoise, and the king of common life made by the North Star Emperor. The azure dragon was a type of wood and was good at nourishing everything. The azure dragon chi was a healing chi. The azure dragon had the help of the water of black tortoise and the North Star sect as its foundation. The azure dragon borrowed the water from the wood and the earth to cultivate the fire and gold. At this moment, the azure dragon had broken through the limits of all its ancestors. Other than that, the azure dragon had long been baptized by the heavenly Tao. Its azure dragon chi was close to seizing the fortune of heaven and earth. In an instant, all the injured people were completely healed. The world tree was incomparably mysterious. It was personally refined by Gu Tiansha, and it reached its current state step by step. It was unknown just how many treasures and archaic treasures were merged within it, and the tree even more so contained endless mysteries. In the past, the blood-sucking demon vine had transformed into the 7-colored demon vine, then into the ghostly god's touch, and finally into the heavenly demon tree. After absorbing the world burial coffin, it had become the tree of wishes and finally the world tree. It was impossible to write down all the experiences within. Now, this tree had become the protective umbrella of the calming immortal department. All of the experts were hidden within the world tree, receiving its protection and healing. Do you think this stupid tree can protect you? After I devour Gu Tiansha, I will also devour this stupid tree. The Lord of the Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha, looked greedily at Gu Tiansha, who was sitting under the world tree. In the entire calming immortal department, whether it was the dimensional sphere, the world tree, the azure dragon, the white tiger, the vermilion bird, the North Star sect, or the martial sage heavenly venerate, none of them were as important as Gu Tiansha. In the eyes of the Lord of the Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha, even the infinite treasures were far inferior to Gu Tiansha. Only by devouring Gu Tiansha could he completely break away from some kind of invisible shackles and obtain true supreme freedom. Suck! A surge of energy surged from his abdomen. He opened his mouth and a vortex appeared. He actually wanted to directly suck Gu Tiansha, who was sitting under the world tree, into his stomach. At this time, Gu Tiansha had no ability to resist at all. Moreover, The tribulation above his head had turned into dark clouds. In the eyes of others, even if the Lord of the Sun Moon Gu Chunsha hadn't attacked him, he would probably have been destroyed at any time. To him, the attack of the Lord of the Sun Moon Gu Chunsha was like adding snow to snow. Protect Chunsha. At this time, the martial sage Heavenly Venerate roared and activated the king of common life. The power of the two great Heavenly Venerates merged together, and together with the other experts, they channeled their magic power and world power into the world tree. Instantly, the branches and leaves of the world tree grew wildly, forming a densely packed world of trees that did their best to block Gu Chinch's attack. You think this little trick can stop me? The Lord of the Sun Moon, Gu Chinch's face showed disdain. When I was in the God realm, you could resist, but now that I've become a sage, I can use more than 10 times the power of the Sun Moon universe. Let alone two great heavenly venerates. Even two great celestial lifespans won't be able to do anything. Break for me. With a long roar, the power of the Sun Moon universe erupted once again. The layers of the world of trees all scattered, but in the end, they still couldn't protect Gu Chinsha. It's like I'm here. Activate the golden plate. At this moment, Lu Baiwei saw that the situation was critical and immediately activated the golden plate. However, when she channeled the magic power of the great massacre god Art into the medallion, the golden medallion actually didn't release any golden light. Not good. Lu Baiwei immediately knew that things were bad. This was a great tribulation for the calmness immortal department. Even the golden medallion had lost its miraculous effect. This meant that the heavenly Tao might be temporarily suppressing the heavenly talisman emperor in some aspect, or the heavenly talisman emperor and the heavenly Tao might be locked in battle, unable to extricate themselves. Let's gather together. The martial sage, Heavenly Venerate, had long seen this point. There's no need to panic. This might be the Emperor's way of tempering you. If you rely on the Emperor for everything, you won't be able to stand on your own. This tribulation is the true test of your calmness, immortal department. The martial sage, Heavenly Venerate, roared again and again. One with the tree. He didn't know what kind of secret art he used, but his entire body actually transformed into a majestic ball of vital energy. Within this vital energy, there seemed to be all the living beings in the world, and every living being was constantly practicing martial arts, constantly striving to improve themselves. This was the true meaning of the martial path. Martial path, this is a type of heaven-mending Tao. Those who are naturally weak will use martial arts to become stronger. Heavenly Lord Martial Saint expressed his own understanding. You are born weak. This is the flaw of the heavens. The martial Tao is to make up for the flaw of the heavens. The true Tao of mending the heavens, the method of mending the heavens, the act of mending the heavens. The martial sage gave out a loud roar. The vital energy that his body turned into actually merged with the world tree. The martial sage was now a celestial venerate. The moment his body merged with the world tree, it was the same as the entire world tree absorbing a celestial venerate. How terrifying would that change be? The Tao realm 36 transformations was his embodiment transformation realm. Although he was just a little bit away from the celestial venerate, be it compatibility or the ability to create and use things, the difference was like heaven and earth. Celestial venerate, celestial venerate. A living being that even the heavens respected a little. The martial sage merged with the world tree. At this moment, the world tree wasn't the world tree anymore. Large amounts of chaotic energy landed and wrapped around the world tree. The world tree slowly started to change and actually blocked the power of the sun and moon. Amazing. When the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha saw this, he did not get angry. Instead, a smile appeared on his face. Martial sage, even if you are one with the tree, it is useless. This world tree actually shows signs of evolving into a primordial tree. This is a little primordial tree. After I obtain this tree, I can refine it into a magic treasure. He didn't care about any changes. To him, after he reached Saint Realm, The bunch of people from calming celestial division were useless, and he could do whatever he wanted. Sun and moon rotation. He spread his hands apart, and the shape of the sun and moon appeared again. It rotated slightly and turned into a yin and yang tai chi. The air shook, and suddenly nothing could stop him, allowing him to rush directly in front of Gu Qinsha. Let's see how you bunch of weaklings can stop me. All you can do is watch as I swallow this Gu Qinsha. The Lord of the Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha, stood in front of Gu Qinsha, who was sitting under the tree, and the greed in his eyes became more and more intense. He was like an extremely hungry wolf that saw fresh meat and wanted nothing more than to devour it immediately. Kill. The people from calming celestial division, Lu Baiwe, king of common people, longevity god, Jin Suwa, Zhugiya, etc. All of them injected all their strength into the world tree. At this moment, the world tree shrunk and the chaotic energy on it became thicker and thicker. In the end, it shook and a Xiantian aura was born from within. At this moment, the world tree couldn't be called a world tree anymore. It was a Hongmeng tree. This was because the entire tree had transformed into a Xiantian spirit treasure. It had transformed from Hotian to Hotian. As soon as the Hongmeng tree transformed, it was even more mysterious than the world tree. It floated in the dimensional dimension sphere, only 3 feet tall. It was much smaller than the world tree that had taken root in countless space-time planes. But it was precisely because it was small that it was so fierce. Its strength had been compressed to the extreme. This Hongmeng tree looked small, but its branches and leaves were lush. Each leaf was a giant world with layers upon layers of space-time fused into it. All the masters of the calming celestial division lived within. Even the dimensional dimension sphere, common people's will, began to collapse and fuse with the Hongmeng tree. The dimensional dimension evolved once more. This is useless. Gu Tiansha laughed. With a flick of his finger, a giant palm condensed in the air. This time, it wasn't the power of the sun and moon, but another inexplicable power. It seemed to contain the aura of heavenly talisman Great Emperor Gu Taxian, as well as the aura of the heavenly Tao. Do you think that I can only use the power of the sun and moon? The truth is that my true body is an existence born from the fusion of Gu Taxian and the heavenly Tao. I am a unique existence. To me, the Sun Moon Lord is nothing more than a minor status. I have the power of the heavenly Tao within me, as well as the bloodline of Gu Taxian. Sever from me. This giant hand directly grabbed the Hongmeng tree, suppressing the strands of grand mist energy that seeped out from within. Then the other hand grabbed at the seated Gu Qinsha, lifting and sucking. When this hand was activated, no one could escape. Chapter 764. Lord of the Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha, suppressed all of the lesser primordial qi, rendering all the experts of the Celestial Calmness Department helpless. Even though the Celestial Calmness Department had Heavenly Lord Martial Sage, King of Common Life, and other Heavenly Lord-level existences, as well as the lesser primordial tree, as well as the foundation of the world's worshippers, they still couldn't do anything to him. They could only watch as he grabbed at Gu Qinsha. At this moment, Gu Qinsha's own tribulation was also extremely dangerous. He seemed to be at a disadvantage in the battle against the Heaven Realm's will. He was no match for the Heaven Realm's will at all. Surrounded by dark clouds, his will could disappear at any moment, let alone resist the attack of Lord of the Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha. Gu Tiansha chose this moment to attack. It could be said that he was taking advantage of your weakness to take your life. The large hand grabbed down. Dark clouds gathered above Gu Qinsha's head, and it was extremely dangerous. Die! Lord of the Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha, had a look of victory on his face. He laughed loudly, and his movements became even sharper. An unprecedentedly powerful suction force appeared between his palms. Gu Qinsha was in imminent danger. But at this moment, something strange happened. The dark clouds above Gu Qinsha's head moved. That was the fate of the tribulation, and it was actually attracted by Lord of the Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha, and it was sucked towards his palm. Hmm. Lord of the Sun Moon, Gu Tianxa's face instantly turned into a look of surprise. Why is the tribulation coming towards me? Scatter. I don't want your tribulation. I want your heavenly Tao art's main body. Is that so? Since you want to devour me, then you have to bear my tribulation. Otherwise, my tribulation would have dissipated long ago, and I can't be devoured by you. How can there be such a good thing in this world? You want to devour me, but you don't want to bear my tribulation? At this moment, a will appeared in the tribulation above Gu Chensh's head. This is karma. If you want to devour me, you have to bear my karma. Devour my tribulation first. The black cloud tribulation disappeared into Gu Tianxa's palm. In the blink of an eye, the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tianxia, experienced the exact same tribulations as Gu Chensh's, while Gu Chensh's tribulations vanished. Apart from that, the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tianxia, seemed to be stunned when the tribulation landed on him. His aura disappeared, just like when Gu Tianxia was pulled into the dream world by the will of the heaven realm. In other words, in this instant, the Master of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tianxia, had shouldered Gu Chensh's tribulation and was pulled into the dream world to shoulder the calamity for Gu Tianxia. At this moment, Gu Tianxia opened his eyes. He actually woke up from the dream world. Originally, he had been besieged by countless powerhouses in the dream world, and his will was about to dissipate. However, at the most critical moment, the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tianxia, had appeared and wanted to devour him. Thus, he took on his karma, and he used a secret art to transfer it, causing the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tianxia, to be trapped in the dream world, and he found a substitute and escaped. As soon as he broke free from the shackles of the heaven realm, Gu Tianxia immediately felt his will, spirit, and all sorts of changes had broken through to the limit. All sorts of enlightenment came naturally under the operation of his will. The power of the inexhaustible umbrella of the 36 treasures was completely fused into his body, and there was no longer any difference between them. Refining the inexhaustible umbrella of the 36 treasures was equivalent to going against the will of the heaven realm. The backlash from the heaven realm was something that even a heavenly venerate would find hard to endure. However, Gu Tianxia had succeeded in the end, and this was with the help of the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tianxia. God Realm Breakthrough. At this time, all the secret arts in Gu Tianxia's body started to circulate. The huge accumulation was like a flood that had been released, surging and surging, circulating and exploding in countless places in his body. The originally strong and indestructible heavenly Tao magic power finally condensed again, evolving into waves of world energy. At this time, Gu Tianxia naturally advanced to the God Realm, large success stage of the God Realm. The change that he had been dreaming of had finally been achieved. The situation had reversed. Originally, the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tianxia, had taken advantage of Gu Chensh's tribulation to attack and was about to succeed, but because of his greed, Gu Tianxia had taken advantage of this opportunity, causing him to fall into the dream world of the heaven realm's will, allowing Gu Tianxia to escape and return to the real world. In this way, the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tianxia, was instead facing a tribulation, while Gu Chensh's luck was unstoppable. The one who had fallen into a predicament was the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tianxia. Minute Dust World Condense. Gu Tianxia stood up, his aura reaching the heavens and earth, suppressing the 9 provinces. Everywhere was filled with his shadow and majestic figure. He could almost cover the heaven realm. In his body, a world was born. Although it was a minute dust world, the power contained in this world was simply like a naked little heaven realm. The quality of the world's power surpassed that of a heavenly venerable. Even the quality of the heavenly longevity realm's world was far inferior to that of Gu Chensh's. Each of the endless 36 treasures, if completely transformed and accumulated to the limit, will be comparable to the immortal, slaying, God-punishing gourd. Now, Gu Tianxia had completely refined the infinity umbrella. This umbrella itself was formed by the Heaven Realm's will. It could contain the Heaven Realm's power and even use the Heaven Realm source for its own use. Therefore, as soon as he advanced to the God Realm, his own minute dust world truly achieved a supreme and invincible change. In his minute dust world, all kinds of mountains, rivers, and lands evolved. It was a divine continent, and there were also the four wildernesses: the barbarian wasteland, the eastern wasteland, the desert wasteland, and the sea wasteland. In his minute dust world, the four wildernesses of the divine continent were born, and they were exactly the same. It was a miniaturized version of this region, especially the divine continent. It was just like a copy. Compared to the new divine continent that once Senshi had refined before, his own little divine continent was many times more perfect. This was Gu Chensh's understanding of the divine continent. The divine continent was in his heart. As the divine continent changed and operated, it actually resonated with the real divine continent. Waves of the divine continent's power were drawn and injected into his minute dust world, the little heaven realm. Gu Chensh's power increased again. In a breath's time, he almost reached a state where there was nothing he couldn't do, nothing he couldn't reach. At this time, he felt that fate had surrendered in front of him, and the chaotic energy was his slave. At any time, a large amount of chaotic energy would automatically enter his world, be refined, decomposed, brewed, and even give birth to the aura of the Khanate. In his minute dust world, the chaotic energy in the sky automatically wriggled like a placenta and actually began to brew one primordial spiritual treasure after another. Primordial spiritual treasure. That's right, it was a primordial spiritual treasure. Primordial spiritual treasures were not something that humans could create. Things created by humans were acquired, and primordial spiritual treasures were either born from the primordial tree, or they were born from the primordial Big Bang of the primordial era. There was a big difference between primordial spiritual treasures and acquired treasures. In terms of usage, primordial spiritual treasures were extremely pure and could merge with the human's primordial spirit and will to strengthen the source. Acquired spiritual treasures were much worse. Basically, they were mere worldly possessions that could not be of help to one's cultivation. But now, Gu Chensha could actually create primordial spiritual treasures, extracting the primordial spiritual energy from the chaos and condensing it into a primordial spiritual treasure. This was simply shocking and boundless. At the same time, all the secrets of the great massacre divine art were no longer illusory in Gu Chensh's eyes. He had come into contact with some of the realms of the heavenly talisman Emperor Gu Taxian. Even the heaven Tao art in his body had begun to stabilize. In the future, even if the heavenly talisman Emperor Gu Taxian fell into a disadvantageous position in the battle against the heaven Tao, Gu Chensh's heaven Tao art would not disappear. Because at this moment, his will had defeated the will of the heaven realm, and he had devoured the infinity umbrella and the will of the heaven realm within it. His will was inherently stronger than the will of the heaven realm. This meant that his will could control the heaven Tao art. The only thing stronger than the heaven realm was the heaven Tao. Great success stage of the God level. At the most crucial moment, Chensha has awakened and defeated the will of the heaven realm. Lu Baiwei let out a long sigh. She was the first to sense it. She was intimately connected to Gu Chensha, and even her life-reforming heaven art was inspired by Gu Chensh's life-mending heaven art. From a certain perspective, her fate was already completely linked to Gu Chensh's fate. All right, now it's Sun Moon Lord Gu Chensh's turn to be unlucky. This time, it's not our calming immortal department's tribulation, but his. If Chensha can devour Sun Moon Lord Gu Chensha, then our calming immortal department's fate will be smooth sailing, and there will no longer be any obstacles or tribulations. Martial Sage Heavenly Venerate said. There was a lot of excitement in his tone. This was because he could feel that as soon as Gu Chensha advanced, his strength was already above his own. Gu Chensha could easily kill an Empyrean. This was his own strength, not the power of a magic treasure. It was extremely difficult for someone like Gu Chensha to advance to the God level. It was unknown just how much he had accumulated. Now that he had finally succeeded, his harvest and achievements naturally couldn't be matched by anyone else. Little Hongmeng tree, come. Life's wish sphere, compress, and fuse with it. After Gu Chunsha stood up, he casually made a grabbing motion. Rumble. Countless amounts of energy erupted from his body. This energy was like a mountain, like a sea, like a dragon, like a tide, as it directly entered the little Hongmeng tree. Originally, this little Hongmeng tree couldn't contain the dimensional realm of the life's wish sphere. However, after Gu Chansha injected his energy into it, the entire dimensional realm was compressed violently. Finally, it became the size of a pellet and hung above the little Hongmeng tree. At this moment, the little Hongmeng tree had become a 3-foot-long sapling. There were several fruits hanging on it. These fruits were all worlds. The Tai Mystic Sex Minor Kiliacosm, the Universe Mystic Sex Minor Kiliacosm, the Wu Clan's Martial Sage Cave, the Longevity God's Minor Kiliacosm, Yuhuan Lu's New Divine Land, and the Gu Chinch's Small Divine Land. Everything had been refined into a 3-foot-long sapling. Chapter 765. Gu Qinsha had once felt that the world tree and the common people's wish sphere were too large, causing them to become the targets of his enemies. Thus, he had an idea to condense the world tree into a small sapling, allowing many worlds to hang on it as a fruit. After shrinking, it could be carried around. In this way, not only would its power increase by many times, but it would also make it impossible for enemies to attack. Think about it. A dimensional realm compressed into a fruit the size of a fist would have an almost infinite defense. It would be impossible for anyone to sneak inside. Unfortunately, at that time, the Common Mortal Department did not have a true master overseeing it, so it was impossible to realize Gu Chinch's idea. But now, things were different. Gu Chansha had cultivated to the God realm, and his ability to use world power was something even heavenly longevity realm experts could not compare to, much less Empyrean experts. With just a slight movement, the boundless power of the divine prefecture would gather on his body, transforming the world. This was equivalent to having a majestic power that surpassed the Sun-Moon Lord. The Sun-Moon Lord Gu Chansha used the power of the Sun-Moon Major Thousand, while he used the power of the divine prefecture. The power of the divine prefecture surpassed the power of the Sun-Moon Major Thousand. In terms of quality, the power of the Sun-Moon Major Thousand was inferior to the power of the divine prefecture. However, Gu Chansha had not yet completely mastered the 100th level of the divine prefecture grand art, the realm of divine prefecture unity. If he succeeded, the divine prefecture would be him, and he would be the divine prefecture. At that time, he would be able to surpass the desolate dragon gate, the heaven sacrificial talisman, and even the grand mist tree, reaching a different realm. Currently, Gu Qinsha could only borrow a portion of the divine prefecture's power. If he wanted to completely merge with the divine prefecture, he would have to cultivate to the Empyrean realm before he could do so. However, even if he advanced to the God realm now, it would still be more than enough to kill the Sun-Moon Lord Gu Qinsha. Now, Gu Qinsha was not only using his own power. The world tree had been refined into the little grand mist tree, and all sorts of dimensional realms were suspended within it. With a single brush, it contained so much world power that was finally mixed together to form the little grand mist energy. The killing power of this origin energy was not small. Bang! It was as if the sun and moon had exploded. Deep in the turbulence of time and space, the tremendous power of the sun and moon went berserk. Countless bright lights of the sun and the moon shot out in all directions. This was the strange scene caused by Gu Chansha, the master of sun and moon, when he whipped the sapling. The lord of the sun and moon, Gu Tiansha's body seemed to be completely formed from the power of the sun and moon. In essence, he was already a body of the universe. This kind of body was indestructible and indestructible. Who could defeat the glorious heavenly might of the sun and moon? However, in this moment, Gu Chansha had broken through him, found his true nature and absorbed it. The outer shell of the Sun-Moon Great Thousand was broken, revealing Gu Tiansha's true body. His true body was very strange. It was not a body of flesh and blood, but was formed by two twisting rivers of airflow. One of the airflow seemed to connect the past, present, and future, and vaguely contained the matchless divine might of the heavenly Tao. The other stream of air suppressed fate and destroyed everything. It didn't belong to the jurisdiction of the heavenly Tao at all. The aura of the heavenly Tao and Royal Father. With a single glance, Gu Tiansha completely understood what these two streams of air were. One was the will of the origin of the heavenly Tao, and the other was the origin of the heavenly talisman emperor, Gu Taxian. In other words, the Lord of the Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha didn't lie. He said that he was something born from the conflict between the heavenly talisman emperor and the heavenly Tao. This was the truth. This freak wasn't under the control of the heavenly talisman emperor, nor was he under the control of the heavenly Tao. As expected, he's a freak. Fortunately, he hasn't fully matured yet. He hasn't fully comprehended the origin of Royal Father and the heavenly Tao. Otherwise, I'm afraid I wouldn't be his match. Fortunately, the two origin energies in his body are mutually restricting each other, causing his body to be flawed and unable to unleash its full potential. But as long as he devours me, he can borrow the origin energy of my heavenly Tao art to destabilize the two energies in his body and fuse them together. This is because my heavenly Tao art is also a transformation of Royal Father's bloodline. However, as long as I can obtain the origin within his body, these two streams of qi will allow my cultivation base to skyrocket. This is a priceless treasure trove. Gu Tiansha finally understood what the Lord of the Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha was. To him, the Lord of the Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha was the best nourishment. Nothing could compare to it. Even the desolate Dragon Gate or the Grand Mist Tree couldn't compare to the benefits of absorbing the Lord of the Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha. Absorb. Gu Tiansha took the initiative and infused the Grand Mist Tree with his supreme will. When it descended, it actually brushed a head-sized ball of origin energy from the Lord of the Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha's body. At this time, the Lord of the Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha had just woken up. He had also been sucked into the heavenly realm's dream world, replacing Gu Tiansha. But in just a breath's time, he had broken free from the heavenly realm's will and woken up. After all, he was much stronger than Gu Tiansha, who had yet to ascend to the God realm. Therefore, he was able to quickly break free. But it was too late. Gu Tiansha had already gained the upper hand. First, he had cultivated to the God realm and completely refined the world tree into the Grand Mist Tree. Both his aura and cultivation had reached a new peak. Moreover, Gu Tiansha had destroyed the outer shell formed by the power of the sun and moon, and with another brush, the ball of origin energy on his body had been brushed off. The head-sized ball of origin energy was still two balls of air revolving around each other. This ball of origin energy was extremely precious. Gu Tiansha hurriedly moved. His body surged with the power of the divine prefecture, enveloping this ball of origin energy and sending it into the little Grand Mist Tree. He would refine it later. This Gu Tiansha is so tough and immovable. I used all my strength to brush this ball of origin energy off his body. It's about 1/10 of it. Gu Tiansha moved again and began his third brush. He wanted to brush more origin energy. It must be known that even if it was just a head-sized ball of origin energy, his cultivation would probably rise to a truly terrifying level if he were to devour and refine it. The intrinsic quality of his body would not be affected by the battle between the heavenly Tao and the heavenly talisman Great Emperor. In fact, it would even have a hint of indestructibility. If he could obtain more of the Gu Tiansha's origin energy, he would have no problem directly cultivating to the heavenly venerate level. A freak like the Sun-Moon Lord Gu Tiansha had never appeared since ancient times. Only after breaking his outer shell did Gu Tiansha realize how terrifying he was. However, just as he began his third brush, the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha regained his senses. He didn't need any time. The power of the Sun Moon Great Thousand condensed on his body once again. He turned into a dazzling ray of light and disappeared from this place. When he left, his body shrank a little. This was obviously caused by losing 1/10 of his origin energy. This time, he had failed to devour Gu Tiansha. Instead, 1/10 of his origin energy had been snatched away by Gu Tiansha. It could be said that he had suffered a huge loss. Seeing Gu Tiansha leave, Gu Tiansha didn't chase after him immediately. He knew that even if he chased after him, he wouldn't be able to catch up. Even though he had cultivated to the god level, he didn't have the ability to kill an existence of this level. Moreover, he had already brushed away 1/10 of the origin energy. He had to quickly refine and devour it to increase his strength. If he chased after him again, he might not be able to suppress the 1/10 of the origin energy in battle and could escape. Once he refined it, his cultivation base would increase explosively. The next time he faced Gu Tiansha, he would have a huge advantage. If this continued, Gu Tiansha would be at a complete disadvantage. Immediately, he moved his body and summoned the little Hongmeng tree above his head. It spun continuously and sprinkled down strands of Hongmeng chi, which wrapped around him. Then he took out an egg-sized ball of origin energy from the head-sized origin energy and started to fuse it into his body. Rumble. The moment the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha's origin energy fused into his body, a huge chain reaction occurred in his body. A large amount of aura in his body intertwined with the origin energy like rivers flowing into the sea. It immediately broke the balance of the origin energy and strengthened the heavenly talisman Great Emperor's power in the origin energy. How comfortable! Gu Tiansha felt incredibly comfortable. His cultivation rose rapidly, and in an instant, he reached the 31st transformation of the Tao realm, Void Creation Realm. After reaching the god level, Gu Tiansha's cultivation increased even more slowly. In fact, he might not be able to increase his cultivation at all. This was because every time he increased, he would be waging war against the heavenly Tao, and his will would face unimaginable tribulations. As such, even if he had another 100 years, he wouldn't be able to reach the 31st transformation of the Tao realm, Void Creation Realm. However, after devouring the egg-sized ball of origin energy, he directly broke through. Just how strong was the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha's origin body? Devoured all. By now, Gu Tiansha had already understood the characteristics and strength of the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha's origin energy. He thought for a while and absorbed the rest of the origin energy into his body and started to refine it. Immediately, the aura on his body became stronger and stronger, and large areas of space-time turbulence were trembling. Wherever his aura reached, the space-time turbulence would retreat, turning into a country of vacuum. Apart from that, even the overwhelming cosmic tides seemed to be afraid of him, not daring to come into contact with his aura, and surged away from him. What do we do now? Wan Xinqi's voice was trembling. Who would have thought that this kid would get through the tribulation in the blink of an eye and become even stronger? He even defeated Gu Tiansha and obtained the origin energy from him. Now he is refining the origin energy. Even if we work together, we probably won't be able to suppress him. What should we do? If he had only cultivated to the god level, he wouldn't be so terrifying. However, he obtained the origin energy of the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha and is refining it into his body. That's truly terrifying. We can't do anything now. We can only wait and see. The Celestial Master seemed helpless. Chapter 766. The Immortal Master and Wan Xinqi were ready to attack at any moment. They wanted to take advantage of the fact that Gu Tiansha and the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha were fighting, injuring each other, and taking advantage of the situation. However, they hadn't expected the situation to change so quickly. The moment the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha made his move, Gu Tiansha shifted the tribulation, woke up, cultivated to the god realm, formed the world tree into the primordial tree, and gathered all the power of the Department of Tranquility. With one swipe, he broke through the great thousand of Sun-Moon, and with another swipe, he obtained the Sun-Moon Lord Gu Tiansha's essence. Although the series of changes was dazzling to the eye, it only took a few breaths of time to complete. Originally, almost all the heavyweights thought that this battle would last for a long time. Thinking about it, Chang Weiyang and Do Yu's battle had already been going on for several years, and the victor had yet to be decided. Now, the battle between the Lord of the Sun-Moon, Gu Tiansha, and the Tranquil Immortal Department was even more intense. Wouldn't it take decades for the victor to be decided? But in reality, the intense battle was over in just a few breaths of time. It was completely against common sense. Even if the old-timers intervened, they wouldn't be able to do anything. Therefore, the old-timers could only watch helplessly as Gu Tiansha devoured a tenth of the Sun-Moon Lord Gu Tiansha's essence. Even old-timers like Wan Senshi and the Immortal Master felt powerless in the face of such a situation. They were powerless against the Sun-Moon Lord Gu Tiansha, and even more powerless against Gu Tiansha. It was as if the new generation was replacing the old. "It looks like a new era has arrived," said Wan Senshi. Immortal Master Wan said, "Could it be that even we, the overlords of this world, have to bow before these monstrous treads produced by the great calamity? I'm not resigned to that. We'll always have a chance," said the Immortal Master. "The tides are changing, and no one can control fate. Even Gu Taxian can't say he's 100% sure of victory in his fight with the Heaven Tao. So whether it's Gu Tiansha or Gu Tiansha, one wrong move and they'll both perish. Don't worry. The three celestial sovereigns have been plotting for the primordial tree all this time. I didn't think they'd succeed, but if the Heaven Tao changes on a large scale, perhaps they'll stand a chance. We need to scheme for something big, or we'll be killed and used as fodder in the future." Even an old-timer like Wan Senshi felt a sense of urgency. Originally, when you established the new divine land, captured the Jade Bracelet Dew, established your prestige, and spread the Doomsday Salvation Scripture so that your ideals would blossom and bear fruit in the hearts of all living beings. This would allow you to truly obtain the supreme merit of saving the world. To be able to push your cultivation to break through the bottleneck once again, this was originally an excellent idea. Unfortunately, the Tranquil Immortal Department was a huge obstacle, the Immortal Master said. "It's the same for you. You obtained the prehistoric civilization, and your ambition is greater than mine." The prehistoric civilization actually wanted to use a system that they created to replace the Heavenly Tao. Although the prehistoric civilization failed, you still wanted to try again, and you saw hope of success. Because of Gu Taxian's entanglement with the Heavenly Tao is weakening. Not only will your cultivation improve very quickly, but your plan is actually being carried out in the dark. You have a trump card, and some of the most important treasures of the prehistoric civilization are in your hands. "I more or less know a little," said Immortal Master Wan. "The same goes for you," the Immortal Master said. "In fact, you also have a lot of tricks that you haven't used yet. In short, we need to really start working together. We need to form a group and rope in some powerful beings. Otherwise, we won't be able to fight against a group of young people who have had a fortuitous encounter. If we really work together, we can really do a lot of things," the Immortal Master said. "One more thing, and that is, just the two of us working together is useless. We need to be sincere and rope in all the big shots, such as the Great Spirit God, the three Celestial Masters, the Dharma Saint, and the old monsters of the Dragon Sect of the primitive universe. As for the other overlords in the depths of the space-time turbulence, we need to contact them one by one, explain how powerful they are, and form an alliance. Of course, those old antiques definitely all have ulterior motives, but it doesn't matter. We can even devour them one by one in the future," Wan Senshi said. "That would be for the best," the Immortal Master said, nodding. "Then let's go get in touch." As they spoke, the two heavyweights dispersed, vanishing into the depths of the space-time turbulence. At the same time, in another part of the space-time turbulence, the little grand mist tree floated above Gu Chench's head, constantly emitting vast amounts of grand mist energy that enveloped his entire body. Gu Qinsha had already completely refined the essence he had obtained from the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha. Gu Qinsha had obtained 1/10 of the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha's essence, and after Gu Qinsha had completely refined it, the most important thing wasn't an increase in his cultivation base, but a metamorphosis of his very essence. Gu Qinsha's essence was originally a heavenly Tao art. However, because of the conflict between the Heavenly Talisman Emperor and the Heavenly Tao, his will was still unable to control the Heavenly Tao art. If the Heavenly Talisman Emperor Gu Taxian was at a disadvantage, his Heavenly Tao art might collapse. Even if he managed to defeat the will of the heavenly world and fuse the infinity umbrella into his body, he still wouldn't be able to control the Heavenly Tao art. There would always be some flaws in it. However, after devouring 1/10 of the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha's essence, he would be able to control the Heavenly Tao art. After all, the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha himself was a freak. This person was something that emerged from the conflict between Gu Taxian and the Heavenly Tao. His essence was strange and unique, and could be said to be one of a kind. Even if Gu Qinsha obtained the Grand Mist Tree, the Desolate Dragon Gate, and the Heavenly Sacrificial Talisman, it wouldn't be as effective as capturing the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha. A will to connect heaven. Gu Qinsha stood up. In an instant, his will seemed to link up with the world, and he could completely understand many changes in the Heavenly Tao. He could obtain the blessings and misfortunes in the depths of the future tribulations. This was the Tao Realm 32 transformations, a will to connect heaven. After Gu Qinsha defeated the will of the Heaven Realm, he devoured the endless umbrella and reached God level, the Tao Realm 30 transformations, world creation. However, the realms in the future would become more and more difficult. In other words, it would be almost impossible for him to raise each realm. But now, after devouring 1/10 of Gu Tiansha's quintessence, he'd actually directly advance from the 30th transformation to the peak of the 32nd transformation. A single thought connects to the heavens. In this way, he'd simply saved hundreds or even thousands of years of bitter accumulation, or perhaps even more. If I completely devour this freak's origin, I'm afraid I'll immediately become a heavenly lord. Gu Qinsha felt that the master of the sun and moon, Gu Qinsha, was a peerless delicacy. He was sufficiently attractive to him. After all, he had already experienced so many trials and tribulations to become a god, let alone becoming a saint or a heavenly lord. Once he reached god level, his combat strength would be enough to shock the heavens and earth. He could even suppress heavenly lords. If he became a heavenly lord, he would be invincible. Wan Senshi, celestial lord, Dharma saint, the great spirit god, all of these people would be wiped out with a flick of a finger. Thinking about it, the difference between god level and heavenly lord was like an elephant and an ant. The difference between Gu Qinsha becoming a god level and heavenly lord was huge. Of course, for someone like him to become a heavenly lord, it would be thousands of times harder than someone like the Dharma saint. Logically speaking, he wouldn't be able to become a heavenly lord. Only by devouring Gu Tiansha would he be able to. Of course, Gu Tiansha also wanted to devour him. No matter which one of them devoured the other, there would be a qualitative transformation. Now, Gu Qinsha was already showing signs of transformation. After Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha lost 10% of his origin, he was already at a disadvantage in his battle against the Calming Xian department. However, if Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha continued to increase his cultivation, he would be a huge threat to the Calming Xian department. This was because Gu Qinsha had only plundered 10% of his origin. There was still 90% of his origin that hadn't been completely harmonized and released its power. Otherwise, the Calming Xian department would have long since been reduced to ashes. I'm just a step away from becoming a sage. Liu Baiwei flew out from the small sapling, the little Hongmeng tree. This little Hongmeng tree was only 3 feet tall, but the space and world within it was much richer than before. It could be said that one could see the big and the small. This was already close to the mysterious realm of containing countless worlds within a tiny speck of dust. That's right. After I become a sage, my abilities will increase by a lot. Becoming a sage is a huge hurdle. Unfortunately, I'm still a little short. If I could devour more origin energy, becoming a sage wouldn't be difficult. Gu Qinsha nodded and said, "However, I've already cultivated to the deity level. Moreover, I'm at the 32 transformations, one thought connecting heaven realm. If I unleash my full strength, defeating the Dharma Saint wouldn't be a problem." That's right, just based on my own strength. Without using any treasures, I'm no longer a match for you. At this time, Heavenly Lord Martial Sage also came out from the Little Hongmeng tree. He stood in the space-time turbulence and looked at Gu Qinsha with a gratified expression. "How exactly did you break free from the pull of the Heaven Realm's will? What kind of world did you enter?" "I was pulled into a world without an emperor. Even now, I don't know if that world is real or fake." Gu Qinsha thought carefully. He had escaped at the most critical moment, but he still felt that it was a pity. He felt that there were still many things in that dream world that he could experiment and explore. "I wonder when I can enter that dream world again?" Chapter 767. Calming Celestial Division had survived this tribulation and their strength had increased. They could start to make preparations to change the world and accumulate even more power. Putting everything else aside, Gu Qinsha, who had advanced to the God realm and even reached the Tao realm 32 transformations, one thought connecting to heaven, could first defeat a celestial lord and collect the Buddhist sect's Permitha, Golden Mountain. Apart from that, after collecting the Permitha Golden Mountain, he could also absorb it into the Little Hongmeng tree, causing two-dimensional worlds to hang on the Little Hongmeng tree. Apart from that, Gu Qinsha could suppress Celestial Path, Monster Race, Demon Race, and Celestial Path. Apart from some old antiques, he didn't care about anyone else. Even Celestial Leader and one Sinchi weren't able to pose a threat to him. Unfortunately, Common People's General was independent and couldn't advance along with him. That year, he was stuck at the Tao Realm 29 transformation and was unable to advance to God Realm. This caused Common People's General to be unable to advance too. Later on, he and Martial Saint experienced the changes to Heaven Venerable Realm and severed the lines of fate, causing Common People's General to become a true living being. That general became a God Realm expert and stabilized the world. Many factions didn't dare to act recklessly. Now, his own realm was definitely higher than Common People's Generals. One could see that the changes in the world were really hard to predict. Luckily, Common People's General was an independent living being, and he had a fortuitous encounter. It was very difficult to increase the speed of advancement. Another reason was that Gu Qinsha had completely understood the secret of the Great People's Salvation Scripture. He had comprehended it in the dream world. In the dream world, he had refined and subdued the demonic ape of confusion. From there, he had obtained the secret of the demonic ape of confusion, refining demonic nature into human nature. Just like that, his strength was much more complete. This wasn't all. In the dream world, he refined Xing Qingshi's head into the Godland Gourd. From there, he saw the most fundamental secret of Xing Qingshi's Godland technique. This caused his Godland technique to far exceed Xing Qingshi's. Not only that, but he was even able to use the Godland Central Plains as an experiment to activate the power of the Godland. He could do the same in the real world. Moreover, the Central Divine Prefecture in the real world had been remodeled by the Heavenly Talisman Emperor, so it was easier to use the power of the Divine Prefecture. With my current strength, I'm still not strong enough to kill the true Xing Qiongshi. His cultivation has reached perfection, and he has gained a deeper comprehension of the Tao of heaven and earth. Naturally, he's no longer the same as when he was sealed. Gu Qinsha was deep in thought. In truth, he really wanted to suppress the true Xing Qiong clan and then refine the entire Xing Qiong clan into a divine land gourd. That way, he would have a powerful weapon to deal with the various powerhouses in the future. However, it would probably be a little difficult for now. Of course, if they used the full power of the calming immortal department, it was very possible that they could accomplish this. However, Xing Xiongshir's counterattack before his death could cause some damage to the calming immortal department. In that case, the Master of the Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha, would be able to take advantage of this and turn the situation around. If not for the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Chansha could do as he did in the dream world and be completely unrestrained. But now, he needed to maintain some balance. Fortunately, the calming immortal department was already established, and there were no other powerhouses that could pose a great threat to it. They could easily develop. In addition, Gu Chansha could also nurture the 3 dukes, 8 marquises, and Feng Lin, allowing them to completely control the endless treasure. This was also a huge asset with great potential. For now, it's not appropriate for our calming immortal department to do anything destructive and cause an uncontrollable situation. We have the advantage now, so there's no need to take risks. Zhuge said, anything can be done calmly. After all, we now control the safety of 30 billion people. If we're not careful, it could lead to a disaster. We have to do things slowly. Then what do you think, Mr. Zhuge? Liu Baiwen nodded. The demon race can now be suppressed and completely destroyed, causing the devil disaster to disperse. With the current strength of our calming immortal department, the demon race will no longer be able to cause any big waves. To be honest, even the heavenly venerables of the demon race can be suppressed and killed. Zhuge pondered for a moment, then slowly said, as for the immortal Tao, we can slowly subdue it. We can collect all the other profound gates, leaving only the Black Heaven Earth Gate alone. After all, the Black Heaven Earth Gate was created by the Patriarch of Heaven and Earth. This Patriarch is even more terrifying than the 3 great heavenly venerables, the Great Spirit God, and even Xing Xiongshir, the Celestial Master, and Wan Senshi. Although it's rumored that he's already fallen, the Black Heaven Earth Gate has always been the overlord of the immortal Tao for tens of thousands of years. Who knows how much power of worship it has accumulated? The Patriarch of Heaven and Earth Gate must have his own plans. If we want to swallow the Black Heaven Earth Gate, it won't be that easy. Instead, it will cause chaos in the world, and the gains won't make up for the losses. Why don't we manage the world now, subdue the Great Prestige Dynasty, and collect the people of the world? There are as many as 100 billion people. However, the Heavenly Tao will change greatly in the 36th year of the Heavenly Talisman. I'm afraid the strongest tribulation will come, Jin Suiwa said. It's not that simple. Zhuge said, the Heavenly Tao has already collapsed, so it's hard to guess. Of course, our main focus is on managing the country. Everything else will still be handled by Your Highness. I think that Your Highness should first deal with the Celestial Designer Institution. If they're not in our hands, there will be endless troubles in the future. After all, they've already built up a great reputation among the people. Moreover, they've secretly colluded with the Great Spirit God and other heavyweights. If we're even the slightest bit careless, it'll cause a huge disturbance among the people, and our painstaking efforts will go to waste. You're right. If the internal situation isn't clear, it'll be hard to tell the outside world. The Celestial Designer Institution has been expanding rapidly these past few years, and its influence on the world can't be ignored. In addition, the Celestial Master has also grasped many secrets of the prehistoric civilization. I even suspect that the prehistoric civilization's strongest item, which can be used to fight against the Heavenly Tao, is in the Celestial Master's hands. It's just that the Celestial Master hasn't completely grasped it. Otherwise, Imperial Father wouldn't have set such a trap for her. Gu Qinsha was also thinking, now that the calming immortal department has the advantage, we need to expand it. If we keep this snowballing, we really need to think about our next plan. The more we have the advantage, the more careful we need to be. We can't give away the advantage we've already gained. If we want to increase our cultivation and achieve breakthroughs, the most important thing is to gather the power of all living beings. When we reach the peak, The human heart can even deal with the heavenly Tao. Liu Baiwei said, right now, the imperial court has already been split into two factions. One is our calming immortal department, and the other is indeed the Celestial Designer Institution. However, the Celestial Designer Institution was established by His Majesty. Even if we can destroy it, we can't burn it. What should we do? Our calming immortal department represents the immortal Tao and the Tao of cultivation, while the Celestial Designer Institution represents the Tao of machinery, the Tao of outer reality, and the Tao of prehistoric civilization. Gu Chensha sighed. The two great civilizations represent their own understandings. If they develop to the extreme, they'll be equal. My imperial father intends for our imperial court and the two civilizations to fuse together, develop together, and nurture together in an attempt to cultivate something new. Both civilizations have their strengths, and they can't be ignored. However, the Celestial Designer Institution is currently in the hands of uncontrollable people. The Immortal Master, Gu Huansha, and the House of Maha aren't good people. They're a scourge to the world, so we won't destroy the Celestial Designer Institution. However, they must be eradicated, or they'll become a great scourge in the future. I'll make a trip to the Celestial Designer Institution right now and eliminate this scourge. I already know quite a few of the Immortal Master's secrets. I spied on him in the dream world, and the greatest tribulation in the dream world was the Immortal Master attacking me with all his might. However, in that instant, my understanding of the Immortal Master has become very deep. Right, this matter has to be dealt with first. Liu Baiwei did some calculations, forming a clear plan in her heart. So, after Gu Chensha spoke, his silhouette flickered and he left the space-time turbulence, heading straight for the headquarters of the Celestial Designer Institution. When he was still in the space-time turbulence, his powerful divine sense had already locked onto the numerous cities built by the Celestial Designer Institution. Right now, the Celestial Designer Institution was expanding rapidly. In the desolate lands, thousands of cities were constructed, and it was unknown how many experts had been recruited. These are places that the Calming Immortal Bureau couldn't control, because according to the laws and regulations set down by the Heavenly Talisman Emperor, the Celestial Designer Institution was an organization independent of the judiciary, finance, and even the imperial court. It only listened to the emperor, hence, the Calming Immortal Bureau couldn't manage it. Ever since the daughter of the Immortal Master, Gu Huansha, entered the Celestial Designer Institution and became the director, with the support of the Immortal Master and the Maha clan, the Celestial Designer Institution grew even more stable. Under the watchful eyes of the Calming Immortal Bureau, it actually developed rapidly. This matter had to be dealt with properly. This was also the reason why Gu Chensha came to the Celestial Designer Institution. At this moment, his power and divine will were invisible and formless. There were no openings that could not be detected by anyone. Even if the Immortal Master came personally, he would not be able to find any flaws in his disguise and discover that his divine will was spying on him. This was the benefit of cultivating to the deity realm. Gu Chensha converted his heavenly Tao art into world energy. The minute world within his body could be called a minor heaven world. Gu Huansha is actually still in the headquarters. I can discuss something with her. Gu Chensha's divine sense swept out and locked onto the true person in charge of the Celestial Designer Institution, Gu Huansha. He didn't bother looking. With a flash, he arrived at the core of the headquarters. The headquarters of the Celestial Designer Institution was filled with restrictive arrays. Some of the restrictive arrays were even laid down by the Immortal Master. Even if an heavenly venerable tried to hide, it would still be troublesome. However, Gu Chensha simply ignored these restrictive arrays. In the core of the headquarters, Gu Huansha and Maha Linfeng were talking. There was also a large group of experts from a Maha clan who were holding a meeting. Chapter 768. Who? In this meeting, the first person to notice that something was wrong was an old man. This old man had a high status and his eyes were jade green. Layers of flames shone above his head, and that was a formless fate turning into a physical existence. Apart from that, there seemed to be many specks of light shining around him like fireflies. These specks of light were actually worlds. This was the power that only those at the primordial desolate realm could have. Moreover, in these worlds, there were many living beings that were really lifelike. Without a doubt, this old man was at peak Tao realm 36 transformations. He was at embodiment transformation realm. Maha family's current family head, the top expert, Maha Liang. After Gu Qinsha appeared, he looked at the old man. Not bad. The Maha family's ancestor is God Maha. Ever since God Maha was sealed, the Maha family lost the suppression of an Empyrean. Gradually, they were unable to resist the heavenly devil race and could only rely on the immortal master. But Maha family's foundations are really deep. Although they don't have any heaven venerables, they have many god realms and saints. If they work together and rely on the medium-sized world that God Maha left, they will be able to fight their way out. All the experts in your Maha family are gathered together. What a guy. He has 3 at the peak of the Tao realm 36 transformations and 5 at the Tao realm 35 transformations. There are actually 10 other sages and more than 50 deities. Gu Qinsha swept everyone present and was shocked by the Maha family's foundations. Although there were no heaven venerables, with so many experts, their strength far exceeded that of any family. Even the legalist school couldn't compare to them. Moreover, not all of them here were the foundations of the Maha family. There were definitely more experts in their own medium-sized world, and they definitely couldn't have left their base to go all out. From this, one could see that Celestial Lord was also nurturing the experts in the Maha family. The one in charge of the meeting was Gu Huansha. She had reached God realm a long time ago, and was actually at the same realm as Gu Qinsha. She was at one thought connecting to heaven and was about to become a saint. Her cultivation speed was so quick, and this was something that was unimaginable in the past. But now, the general trend was rolling and fortuitous encounters were coming one after another. Even a commoner could casually pick up a rare treasure on the road and become an expert in a single leap, let alone a person like Gu Huansha. As the daughter of the heavenly talisman great monarch, she possessed his bloodline. As long as she could make good use of this bloodline, she would be able to gain unparalleled strength. Gu Qinsha had completely activated this bloodline and cultivated the heavenly Tao technique. Naturally, he had already gained full control over the heavenly Tao art, turning it into his own. This was the transformation ability of the ancient sun and moon heavenly sand. Hence, even if Gu Huansha fully activated the bloodline of the heavenly talisman great sovereign, she wouldn't be a match for him. Unless Gu Huansha activated her bloodline, cultivated the heavenly Tao art, and devoured Gu Tiansha's source. Only then would she have a chance to fight against Gu Qinsha. Of course, there was just a chance, but it was still impossible for her to beat Gu Qinsha. One must know that Gu Qinsha's strength wasn't the heavenly Tao technique, but his own will. During these decades, who knew how much knowledge he had obtained? He merged all this knowledge and experiences together to create the shocking common people heaven mending technique. His common people heaven mending technique was the righteous path. It was majestic and invincible. So, even if Gu Huansha had his strength, without his will, it would be useless. At this moment, Gu Qinsha had experienced some things in the dream world and defeated the heaven world's will. His heart was totally different, and he had the heart to defeat everything. When his gaze swept across, numerous experts in the core area felt a chill down their spines. They were actually terrified and didn't dare to attack. Even 3-peak Tao realm transformation realm experts like him felt a huge threat. It was as if he wasn't facing a person, but an undefeatable universe tide, the king of the universe. Gu Qinsha's aura alone was enough to intimidate all the experts of the Heavenly Designer Institution and the Maha clan. Gu Qinsha, what are you doing here? Are you here to show off? Gu Huansha's face turned ashen white. You have passed the tribulation and reached the God realm. I know that your cultivation is really strong, But are you really going to attack right away and ignore the rules that Father left behind to wipe out the Heavenly Craftsman Institute? Gu Huansha naturally knew what Gu Qinsha wanted to do. The Heavenly Craftsman Institute was a thorn in the hearts of the people of the calming celestial department. As long as the Heavenly Craftsman Institute was there, it would be tough for the calming celestial department to gather the hearts of the people. Similarly, if the celestial master wanted to gather the hearts of the people, he had to get rid of the calming celestial department. But now, the balance had obviously been lost. Gu Qinsha had reached the God realm and refined a world tree into the little Hongmeng tree. Even the celestial master had to retreat. With such a strong aura, Gu Huansha knew that she couldn't fight back. The only thing she could rely on was that she was appointed by the heavenly talisman emperor Gu Taxian. Even Gu Qinsha couldn't remove her. "Sister, you must be joking." Gu Qinsha suddenly smiled. "Why would I attack the Heavenly Craftsman Institute?" The Heavenly Craftsman Institute creates machines, builds cities, and develops the prehistoric mechanical civilization. It is a great merit to the people of the world. If not for the Heavenly Craftsman Institute, just our calming celestial department alone wouldn't be able to let the people live so well. Moreover, we need the mechanical civilization of the Heavenly Craftsman Institute as a buffer to divide the people into different classes. Only then can we resolve all sorts of conflicts. I'm very clear about this. The function of the mechanical civilization was to divide the world into different classes. If everyone in the world cultivated the immortal Tao, it would be too monotonous. It would easily lead to a huge division. A portion of people who comprehended the immortal Tao would be high and mighty, while the others who couldn't cultivate would be like ants or slaves. Even if Gu Qinsha continued to spread the human dragon fist, it would be impossible for everyone's cultivation to be equal. There would definitely be people who would be left behind. However, things would be different with the modification of the mechanical civilization. Some people who weren't good at cultivating could make use of the machinery to raise their strength. With this, a balance would be formed. Another point was that the various items produced by the mechanical civilization were very cheap, and it was easier for them to be spread among millions of families. As for the treasures, spiritual qi, and formations of the immortal Tao civilization, it would be very difficult for ordinary people to grasp them. Back then, when Gu Qinsha stepped into the Tao realm, he had accumulated a lot and comprehended a lot. He had even cultivated the unparalleled martial art, the Son of Heaven's God-sealing art. Even if ordinary people cultivated the human dragon fist, it wouldn't be easy for them to step into the Tao realm. Gu Qinsha knew the general trend, and he had a new understanding of the way of governing a country. Then why did you suddenly barge in? Gu Huansha didn't believe Gu Qinsha's words at all. This was because she knew that Gu Qinsha wasn't a kind person. If Gu Qinsha was so easy to talk to, the calming immortal department wouldn't be as large as it was now, having been destroyed thousands of times. Reforming the celestial designer department. Gu Qinsha said, the celestial designer department must undergo a reform to better cooperate with the calming immortal department and make preparations to strengthen the country. How do you want to reform? Are you going to abolish me and replace me with someone from the calming immortal department? Gu Huansha sneered. Royal sister, you must be joking. Gu Qinsha ignored Gu Huansha's mockery. The celestial designer department uses the prehistoric mechanical civilization, but I feel that it can be combined with the immortal Tao civilization to produce a brand new model. That's why I want to reform the celestial designer department. That way, we can avoid the imperial court's decrees being the same, and the common people won't think that the court is divided into two factions. As for the royal sister and the head of the department, what do you think? More importantly, I know a lot about the mechanical civilization. After all, my king of common life is the ultimate crystallization of the prehistoric civilization, the cruiser of the epics. I brought the king of common life here to help you manage the celestial designer department. What do you think? In addition, I'll create a host of marshals of common life to help you out. As for the people from the house of Maha, they'll join the calming immortal department in exchange. I'll give them positions. What do you think? That's an exchange of positions. No one loses out. With that, Gu Chunsha flicked his sleeve, and the king of common life appeared in front of everyone, emanating the aura of a celestial. By this point, the will of the North Star will of the king of common life had completely vanished. After Gu Chunsha had reached godhood and devoured the essence of Lord Sun Moon Gu Tiansha, he could do whatever he wanted with the will of the North Star will. In doing so, he destroyed the will of the North Star will, making it impossible for the myriad demon patriarch to cause any more trouble. The king of common life was now a complete puppet, a true celestial. The members of the House of Maha knew what a celestial was, and that they lacked such an expert. With a celestial, the House of Maha wouldn't need to rely on the immortal Lord, and would instead be on equal footing with him. You, how ruthless! Gu Wansha's face turned even paler when she heard Gu Qinsha's words. Gu Qinsha had the king of common life assist her in managing the celestial designer department. What did that have to do with her? She was nothing more than a puppet. She was even more of a puppet than a puppet. That wasn't all. Gu Qinsha was also preparing to create a large number of commanders to enter the celestial designer department. This way, the celestial designer department would be in charge of the celestial designer department. Apart from that, Gu Qinsha was even more ruthless about exchanging positions, allowing the members of the House of Maha to take up important positions in the celestial designer department. Putting it nicely, he wanted to imprison the experts of the House of Maha and use some sort of power to purify them, turning them into the source of worship for the celestial designer department. This was an extremely vicious move. However, Gu Huansha couldn't do anything about it. What? Imperial sister, you're not going to agree to such a good deal? If you agree, you'll immediately have a celestial expert by your side. Gu Qinsha continued pressuring her. Gu Qinsha, don't even think about making our House of Maha your slave. At this moment, Maha Linfeng roared. Bang! Just as he finished speaking, Gu Qinsha flicked his finger and a gust of wind pierced through Maha Linfeng's body. After that, Maha Linfeng's body was engulfed in flames as he screamed. Ah! 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 Maha Linfeng was like a devil in flames. He was already burnt beyond recognition. Chapter 769. How dare you? Damn it! Let go of Linfeng. Gu Qinsha, you will die a horrible death. Maha Linfeng's body was ignited by Gu Qinsha's spell. Instantly, all the experts of the Maha family were shocked and enraged. All of them attacked. Maha Liang was the #1 expert with a cultivation of 36 Dao realm. He was at the pinnacle of embodiment transformation and was the first to make a move. With a slight movement of his body, a beam of light shot towards Gu Qinsha. Within that beam of light, many golden demonic gods appeared. Every single one of them wasn't huge like a grain of sand. However, the aura of every single one of them was equivalent to a deity. This was Maha Liang's spell and treasure. It was called the Maha Myriad Demon God, Dao Seeking River. These golden devil gods were the size of grains of sand. They weren't illusions, but real devil gods. Back in the day, God Mahakasayapa had suppressed purgatory. Who knew how many gods of the devil race had refused to submit to him, but they had all been killed. After the devil race's god-ranked experts were killed, their souls, flesh, and blood were refined into treasures. After tens of thousands of years, they accumulated like sand in a river. In the end, they were refined generation after generation, becoming the strongest treasure in the world of Maha, the Maha Myriad Deity's Tao-seeking river. To protect Maha Linfeng, Maha Liang knew that he had to use his strongest attack. Thus, he injected his world energy into it and attacked Gu Qinsha. Maha Linfeng's aptitude was that of a natural-born saint. In the devil race, he held a high position, just like abandoned demon. Those who were born with the aptitude to become saints were existences that would definitely become saints in the future. A saint was an existence that stood at the pinnacle of any family or faction. What was even more amazing was that after a saint died, They could temporarily manifest their spirit through sacrifices and display their divine might. This also meant that as long as the sacrifices continued, a saint would never die. Not to mention a natural-born saint disciple. Any family would do their best to protect even geniuses and geniuses. Moreover, Maha Linfeng was close to becoming a god. He had great luck on him. In this era of fortuitous encounters, Maha Linfeng would soon become a saint. In the future, there would be even more fortuitous encounters. It was so much so that his sacrifice was the key to rescuing God Maha. The sacrificial power of a natural-born saint and a person with great luck was definitely not to be underestimated. For example, F.A. Wuxian's sacrifice back then had played a major role in the resurrection of the Dharma saint. A natural-born saint priest was almost equivalent to thousands of ordinary priests. Their power was dozens of times greater, and the quality of the priest was also thousands of times better. If it was the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha's sacrifice, he could directly revive the sage. Of course, Gu Tiansha's sacrifice was almost done. After subduing the Heavenly Designer Institute and dealing with the hidden dangers, he would revive Chang Yuzhou. To the world of Maha, the wind of Maha couldn't die. The reason why the immortal master betrothed Gu Huan Sha to Maha Linfeng was firstly because of Maha Linfeng's innate talent as a sage. Of course, the main reason was because of the great luck that Maha Linfeng possessed. All the members of the Maha clan attacked Gu Qinsha together. Gu Qinsha had a smile on his face and didn't seem to care. Suddenly, a vortex appeared on his body. This vortex was pitch black in color, as though it was the darkness from before the birth of the universe. This vortex of darkness revolved slightly and absorbed all the attacks. Moreover, it even wrapped around the Maha Pantheon river of demons and gods. To Gu Qinsha, this magic treasure was very valuable. If he kept this magic treasure, he would be able to refine the demon god's flesh and soul through his heavenly Tao arts. He would be able to refine even more common people generals. The vast essence, chi, and spirit contained in the Maha Pantheon river of demons and gods was enough for him to refine more than 1,000 common people generals. The world of Maha was indeed a family that was on the same level as the heavenly devil race in the demon domain. They were also known as the Devil Emperor race. The richness of their foundation wasn't something that other families could compare to. Gu Qinsha suspected that even if all the families in the central divine continent were combined, they still wouldn't be able to compare to the Maha clan. Rumble. The Maha Pantheon river of demons and gods was completely suppressed and pulled. It couldn't cause any damage to Gu Qinsha. All the experts of the Maha clan attacked, but the power of their attacks was instead nourished and replenished Gu Qinsha's energy. If it was in the past, Gu Qinsha would probably be at a disadvantage if he fought Maha Liang alone. But now, with so many experts of the Maha clan attacking at the same time, he was taking a stroll in the park. Even if it was an attack from a dimensional realm, it was still useless against him. He still hadn't used the power of the little Hongmeng tree. If he did, these people would die here. More importantly, the power of the little Hongmeng tree wasn't Gu Qinsha's strongest power. Gu Qinsha's killing move was the 100th layer of the Divine Prefecture art, which drew upon the power of the Divine Prefecture. The power of the Divine Prefecture even surpassed the Great Thousand Realms. It could suppress the sun, moon, and the universe, and was only below the power of the Celestial Realm. It was a super divine power that stood between the Celestial Realm and Divine Origin Realm. Moreover, the power of the Central Divine Continent had a certain uniqueness to it. This uniqueness was the center of the myriad realms, the center of the Celestial Realm, or even the center of the universe. From a certain perspective, the Central Divine Continent didn't belong to the Celestial Realm, but to the myriad realms. Of course, Gu Qinsha hadn't come here to kill the people of the Maha clan, but to subdue the Celestial Designer Institute and make it operate according to the ideals of the Celestial Commerce Department. Of course, the output of the Celestial Designer Institute wouldn't change. It would just be internal reform. Whoosh, The Maha deity's seeking river was sucked in by the vortex on Gu Chinch's body before it broke free from Maha Liang's control and entered Gu Chinch's body. In that instant, Maha Liang, the #1 expert of the Maha clan, had a drastic change in his expression. This was because he could feel that even if he stimulated the strength of his dimensional realm in secret, it would still be useless. The strength of his dimensional realm simply had no effect on Gu Dusha. In other words, Gu Chansha had completely disregarded the suppression of the dimensional realm. Arc. Maha Linfeng's screams continued to ring out as his cultivation base. Talent, treasure, essence, energy, and soul were all extracted by Gu Chansha using the Banish Immortal technique. In the end, he was turned into an ordinary person, just like Fa Wuxian. He had lost everything, and he couldn't even walk. He collapsed to the ground. Gu Chansha wouldn't kill, but he would strip the other party of their cultivation, talent, and even luck, turning them into an ordinary person. Take Fa Wuxian, for example. He had a torrential luck, and he could even fly over when he encountered treasures. But ever since he was stripped by Gu Chansha, he became ordinary and didn't have any fortuitous encounters. Generally speaking, it was possible for experts to strip the cultivation and even the memories of their enemies. However, stripping away luck and luck was simply unheard of. Only a freak of Gu Chinch's level could do this. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been any children of destiny in history who grew stronger the more they fought. There were some youngsters with heaven-defying luck who couldn't be killed no matter what they fought. Every time they fought, they would grow stronger and stronger, and in the end, they would kill the children of destiny. But these children of destiny had no use against Gu Chansha. Directly stripping away their luck, they wouldn't have any fortuitous encounters in the future. All of Maha Linfeng's cultivation, aptitude, magic treasures, and fate condensed into an auspicious cloud that gathered on Gu Chinch's palm. In the end, it continuously circulated and turned into a talisman. Gu Chansha stored this talisman away. He would use it to cultivate his subordinates. In the future, as long as he placed this talisman into his subordinates, they would immediately obtain Maha Linfeng's cultivation, talent, luck, and luck. Your attacks are useless against me. Even if it's a dimensional realm, I don't care. Unless you have the power of the Sun Moon Lord Gu Chansha, then you won't be able to injure me. I know that the Immortal Master must have a powerful trump card. I want to see it today. Gu Chansha said, "Sister, what do you think? Did you heave a sigh of relief in the depths of your heart after I crippled the Maha Linfeng? How about this? How about I choose a husband for you? How about I choose a husband for my royal sister?" Mr. Zhugeya, the Lord of 7 Stars of our calming immortal agency's military advisor, is a man of unfathomable wisdom, tyrannical methods, and a meticulous strategist. Furthermore, he has an exalted status. It's only natural for him to marry you, Imperial Sister. Imperial Sister, please don't refuse. Gu Huansha's face was blood red, as if she was enraged. Gu Chansha, you've gone too far. Do you really think that no one in this world can do anything to you just because you've cultivated to the God realm? How could you be so deranged as to do this? Imperial Sister, you misunderstand, Gu Chansha said, waving his hand dismissively. Could it be that you think the Lord of 7 Stars of the Celestial Commerce Department isn't worthy of you? Royal Sister, you should know that Zhuge isn't just a Lord of 7 Stars. He's a double Lord of 7 Stars. If I cultivate him in the future, he might even become a Divergent and eventually become a Celestial. The chances of that happening are over 90%. Isn't that countless times better than the wind of Mahanata? Sure. Suddenly, a voice was heard. The Immortal Master had appeared. She waved her sleeve, wrapping up wind of Mahanata so that Gu Chansha wouldn't actually kill him. Mother. At this moment, Gu Huansha called out. Oh, the Immortal Master has finally appeared? Gu Chansha looked at the Immortal Master, a smile still on his face. Has the Immortal Master agreed to my plan to reform the Celestial Designer Institute? We'll talk about reforming the Celestial Designer Institute later. I mean, you were the matchmaker just now. Was that the Lord of Seven Stars' idea? The Lord of Seven Stars, Zhuge, has taken a fancy to my daughter? Does he want to become a relative of the imperial family? The immortal master changed the subject. If that's the Lord of Seven Stars' idea, then I can agree to it. We'll slowly reorganize the Celestial Designer Institute and the Celestial Commerce Department. What do you say? Chapter 770. Immortal Lord, you really are a straightforward person. I can make the decision, said Guchen Shah. With my royal sister's status, it is indeed a good match for the Lord of Seven Stars. At the same time, it will send a signal to the people that the Celestial Designer Department is not at odds with the Celestial Designer Department. However, I will continue with the reform of the Celestial Designer Department. No one can stop me. What do you think, Immortal Lord? It's impossible for the Celestial Designer Department to reform like this. The Immortal Lord waved his hand. You're just stealing the Celestial Designer Department. My years of hard work has gone to waste. Do you think I'll allow you to do that? Right now, the Celestial Designer Department was doing quite well in the Wildlands. It had opened up thousands of cities, which were connected by railways. Every day, huge iron carriages whizzed past, and airships rose and fell in the sky. Every day, countless people rushed over from all directions to buy the goods produced by the Celestial Designer Department. They even bought genetic evolution potions and accepted the ideals of the Celestial Designer Department. Within the Celestial Designer Department, one could obtain huge amounts of destiny and sacrifices. Among the people, the Celestial Designer Department had quite a good reputation. Although it wasn't as good as the Celestial Designer Department, as the population grew, in a few decades, it really might be on par with the Celestial Designer Department. Unfortunately, the Celestial Designer Department now had 360 God-rank common people marshals managing the world. The hearts of the people were united, and if the Celestial Designer Department wanted to continue developing, there would be a huge bottleneck. Apart from that, the Celestial Designer Department also had the Common People King and the Common People Marquis handling all sorts of matters. The Celestial Designer Department didn't have the upper hand at all. So this time, the Immortal Lord had sent out all the experts of the Mo family to join the Celestial Designer Department. They would also become officials and fight for faith, power, and hearts of the people against the Common People King and Common People Marquis. Fighting for the hearts of the people was the most important thing. Gu Chansha had also expected this, so he immediately wanted to nip the Maha clan in the bud. Otherwise, once the Maha clan's experts changed their appearances and became officials, they would gain a great reputation among the commoners. At that time, it wouldn't be easy to deal with them openly. Now, while these experts didn't have any reputation and hadn't won the hearts of the people, it was the best time to deal with them. The Immortal Master could not allow Gu Chansha to bring the members of the Maha clan into the calming Immortal Department and brainwash them into becoming his men. If it was in the past, the Immortal Master would not have to worry at all because Gu Chansha did not have the ability to do so. But the current Gu Chansha, his cultivation level was really uncertain. In the past, the Immortal Master had been able to suppress Gu Chansha with a snap of her fingers. But now, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to defeat him so easily, especially if Gu Chansha used the 100th layer of the Great Divine Land spell. He could cause great harm to her. Both the Immortal Master and Wan Senshi were deeply fearful of Gu Chansha. Immortal Master indeed has a deep foundation. Gu Chansha knew that the Immortal Master would not agree to him reforming the calming Immortal Department, but he was confident. Aren't you afraid that my calming Immortal Department will make things difficult for you? You must know that with your current strength, Immortal Master, I'm afraid that you won't be able to withstand an attack from my calming Immortal Department. My calming Immortal Department has the Common Life King and the Martial Saint Heavenly Venerables. With two Heavenly Venerables added together, I also have my Heavenly Tao Cultivation, a Dimensional Realm, and many other foundations. In addition, there are also the reincarnations of the 13 infinite treasures. Each infinite treasure is equivalent to the power of the immortal, slaying, God-punishing gourd. The calming immortal department has indeed become a great power. It is very difficult for any power in the world to surpass the calming immortal department. If each of the 13 infinite treasures reincarnated became a heavenly venerable, then they would be able to fully display the power of the infinite treasures. Only then would they be able to match the immortal, slaying, God-punishing gourd. But that is impossible. Also, do you really think that I don't have other trump cards? The immortal master smiled. I'm negotiating with you now because I don't want either side to suffer losses. After all, the world doesn't only have our heavenly designer department and your calming immortal department. If we two tigers fight, others will benefit. Besides, if you continue to be overbearing, I have absolute confidence that I can kill you. Is that so? Gu Qinsha waved his hand dismissively. You are relying on the so-called system left behind by the prehistoric civilization. This system was created by the prehistoric civilization in order to replace the operation of the heavenly Tao and allow all living things to grow. Unfortunately, this system has already been shattered. It has been damaged by the heavenly Tao's tribulation, so it can't do anything. After you obtained it, you tried your best to repair it, but it was to no avail. This is because with your heavenly longevity realm, there is no way for you to repair this system. Of course, you can use this system to display the power of the heavenly primordial realm, but that won't be able to do anything to me. How do you know so clearly? The immortal master looked surprised. You'll never be able to guess. Gu Qinsha smiled brightly. In a dream world, he met the immortal master. The immortal master attacked him with his strongest attack. The moment he killed him, all the information about the immortal master flowed through his mind. Therefore, he knew all of the immortal master's trump cards like the back of his hand. It seems that my evaluation of you has increased again. The immortal master calmed down. The immortal master calmed down. The Heavenly Craftsmanship Institute was handed over to me by your father, Gu Taxian. If you try to seize it now, you will be going against your father's will. Also, your father is now fighting against the heavenly Tao. The mission he gave me was to unify the world, gather all living beings, and restore the system that was left behind by the essence of the prehistoric civilization. This will allow the system to unleash its power and disrupt the heavenly Tao. This way, he will be able to completely defeat the heavenly Tao. I'm currently accomplishing this task. Your reforms have ruined this grand plan. Not only did you not help your father, you are harming him. This? Gu Qinsha's eyes narrowed. What you say makes some sense. However, you must remember the struggle between father and the heavenly Tao is actually a kind of cultivation. To reach this level, he doesn't need any help. If he needed help at this level, then he wouldn't have reached this level. Therefore, I must reform the heavenly designer department. Even if it means two tigers fighting and others taking advantage of me, I must do it. Because if you want to do something big, you will destroy the foundation of the calming immortal department. There can't be two conflicting ideals in the world. All living things must be united. Gu Qinsha's determination to reform the heavenly designer department grew even stronger. So you're saying that you're a tortoise that eats the weight of a steelyard and has made up your mind? Gu Huansha said, for your own power, you don't even care about father's safety. Wrong. You're the ones who are destroying father's safety. Gu Qinsha said, you're actually planning for yourselves. Immortal Master, I know what you're thinking. Don't try to be righteous here. You say you want to restore the power of the system left behind by the prehistoric civilization. However, you must know that with your power, it's impossible to restore it. Only I can do it. Because I've cultivated the heavenly Tao and stabilized it, I can even defeat and devour the will of the heavenly realm in the endless umbrella. The way I see it, the best way is for you to give me the system and cultivate it according to my method. Then together, we can give the heavenly Tao a heavy blow. If you don't, do you have other selfish motives? How about it? Your appetite is getting bigger and bigger. In that case, there's nothing more to say. Let's see what's so amazing about you. The immortal master suddenly made a grabbing motion with his hand. Instantly, a storm appeared in front of him. Within this storm, a vast civilization could be vaguely seen. In the endless starry skies, there were battleships in great numbers. The power of machinery tore through the void, creating gods and even celestial puppets. This was the strongest prehistoric civilization. This civilization had once posed a threat to the heavenly Tao. They wanted to create a system to replace the heavenly Tao. Such a tyrannical civilization had fallen in the long river of time. However, in order to destroy this prehistoric civilization, the heavenly Tao had also suffered some injuries. Until now, it had not recovered and was suppressed by ancient immortal treading. Good. You finally started to use the power of the system. Gu Qinsha moved and disappeared completely. In the next instant, he appeared behind the immortal master with a 3-foot-long little Hongmeng tree in his hand. The moment the little Hongmeng tree slashed down, heaven and earth started to collapse. The dense space-time above the immortal master's head started to distort, and his protective technique became useless. Originally, a chaotic ancient creature like the immortal master couldn't be defeated. He couldn't even get close to it. He was right in front of her, but in reality, who knew how many space-time dimensions they were separated by? There were even billions of dimensions. Such a realm was many times stronger than the desolate dust realm at the 35th transformation and the embodiment transformation at the 36th transformation. This meant that the immortal master could even ignore the attacks of celestial masters. Only the power of medium-sized worlds could threaten the immortal master. But the immortal master controlled the mysterious system left behind by the prehistoric civilization. This system had once tried to replace the heavenly Tao, but failed and was destroyed. Now, this system didn't have the power it had in the past and was just a broken thing. But a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Even in the hands of the immortal master, this system could still display power no weaker than the heaven sacrifice decree. It was just that it was difficult for the immortal master to activate it. Each time the immortal master activated it, he would definitely have to pay a huge price. This was why she was very careful and used it as a trump card. If it weren't for the fact that Gu Qinsha had pushed her too far, to the point of destroying her foundation, she wouldn't have come out and paid a huge price to activate the power of the system to fight back against Gu Qinsha. Gu Qinsha, this little Hongmeng tree of yours is just a child's toy in front of me. Don't take it out to show off. The immortal master turned around and flicked his finger. The little Hongmeng tree in Gu Qinsha's hand collapsed and turned into a little Hongmeng energy that dissipated into the air. Chapter 771. The immortal master had dispersed the power of the little Hongmeng tree with just one move. The little Hongmeng tree was a manifestation of the world tree. It had gathered the power of the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, black tortoise, and North Star tree, as well as many minor kiliocosms and a medium kiliocosm. Its destructive power was immense. Even the immortal master himself wouldn't be able to withstand it. Back then, Gu Qinsha had taken advantage of the fact that the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha, had been affected by the tribulation of the celestial realm and hadn't regained his composure to use the little Hongmeng tree to erase 1/10 of his source. But the immortal master was different now. She had used some sort of mysterious system. With the power of the system gathered, she wasn't afraid of the little Hongmeng tree scouring. Gu Qinsha knew that he could only fight the immortal master if he used the great divine prefecture technique. He wasn't afraid at all. All of a sudden, he punched out. 100 images of the divine prefecture appeared on his fist. 99 clear images and 1.5 clear images. This was the power of the great divine prefecture technique. The might of the divine prefecture technique tore through the air and gathered on Gu Qinsha's fist. The power of the divine prefecture technique was stronger than that of the sun and moon great thousand worlds. Bang! The two forces collided again. The immortal master retreated 3 steps, while Gu Qinsha flickered continuously, dispelling the Immortal Master's attack. The two of them were actually evenly matched. However, Gu Chunsha could already tell that the Immortal Master still had a killer move up her sleeve. She just didn't dare use it. Of course, Gu Chunsha also had a desperate move, which was the true divine prefecture fusion. He would abandon himself and merge with the divine prefecture technique, which would allow him to unleash his greatest power. Even the Immortal Master was afraid of him. Gu Chunsha, you can't do anything to me, the Immortal Master said. Your current strength is inferior to mine. You should be able to suppress a celestial venerable, but you're still lacking when it comes to dealing with me. Unless you become a sage and perfect your power, you'll be able to do whatever you want, just like the Lord of the Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha. So, it's futile for me to reform the Heavenly Craftsman Institute today. Gu Chunsha laughed. But Immortal Master, I'll become a sage very soon. If you cooperate with me now, we can compromise and we can still be friends. If you insist on going about things the wrong way, I'm afraid that the first person I suppress after I become a sage will be you. Gu Chunsha was at the Tao Realm 32 transformation, one thought connecting to heaven. He was only one step away from mastering the 33 transformations of the Saint Heart of Truth. Once he succeeded, his combat strength, cultivation, and production capacity would all undergo a tremendous change. Take the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha, for example. The moment he ascended to become a saint, he became extremely arrogant and despotic. He single-handedly came to wipe out the Calming Immortal Department and even sealed off the Calming Immortal Department's sphere of common people's wish, not allowing other antiques to get a share of it. If it was not for the fact that Gu Chunsha had cultivated to the deity level and appeared in time, he might have really accomplished the magnificent feat of wiping out the Calming Immortal Department. If Gu Chunsha became a saint, he would be even stronger than him. That was because the power Gu Chunsha drew from the divine prefecture was much stronger. Moreover, Gu Dusha had devoured a tenth of his origin and used his heavenly law to refine it. In this way, Gu Dusha had become an existence that had never appeared since ancient times. No one could understand it. It was close to immortal, undying, indestructible, unbreakable. This realm could no longer be understood by the people of the world. Even Gu Chunsha himself couldn't guess exactly what sort of changes would occur after he devoured Gu Chensha's quintessence. He only knew that he had become stronger. Originally, when Gu Chunsha cultivated to the deity level, he could only fight against heavenly venerables and be on the same level as the martial saint heavenly venerables. Even so, this was already shocking. The difference between the deity level and the heavenly venerables was like the difference between a Tao realm cultivator who hadn't cultivated pre-heaven Empyrean energy and a deity level cultivator. But after becoming a deity, he had swallowed 10% of the source essence of Gu Chunsha, the Lord of the Sun and Moon. Because of that, he had undergone fundamental changes. Now that he was in the 32 transformations, he could even fight against the heavenly longevity realm. More importantly, the immortal Lord was mysterious and unfathomable. He was a terrifying being born of primordial chaos creatures. Given your current strength, Gu Chunsha, the immortal Lord said with a sharp look in his eyes, I'm afraid it's impossible for you to become a saint given your current strength. Others might not be able to see it, but I can. Unless you devour the source essence of Gu Chunsha, the Lord of the Sun and Moon, there's no way you can become a saint. If you want to deal with Gu Tiansha, then you should be working with me, not opposing me. We can work together to capture him. You can use the divine Godgram magic, and I can use the systems of the one God of the prehistoric civilization to capture him before he recovers. Then we can split him 50-50. What do you say? That would benefit us the most. My God system of the sun and half of the essence of Gu Chunsha would be able to recover, and you would be able to reach the celestial level. We can both take what we need. If we fight and both get hurt, Gu Chunsha will benefit. That wouldn't be a good thing. You have a point, the Immortal Lord said. Gu Chensha's eyes flickered. I just can't find him. Don't tell me you think you can find him. Gu Chunsha, the Lord of the Sun and Moon, could rapidly improve his cultivation base. If he could track him down and take some of his source essence, Gu Chunsha might be able to let the Immortal Lord off the hook. The Immortal Lord was using that as a bait, and it was very tempting. If you can find him, Gu Chunsha said, I can work with you for a while. Why don't you tell me what you want to do, and I'll see if we can work things out. Of course I know where he is, the Immortal Lord said. We're working together. Back when we were working together, I'd already secretly made arrangements and knew everything. The Immortal Master said, Now, can we talk about working together? How do we work together? Gu Chunsha said, My suggestion is that we work together to subjugate Gu Chunsha and split his source essence. Besides, you can't repair the systems of the one God. Only my Heaven Dao magic can repair the damage, and even absorb the will of the Tao of Heaven. That way, the systems can unleash their full potential. You'll have to rely on me for that. You working with Gu Tiansha, the Lord of the Sun and Moon, is like asking a tiger for its skin. You want to plot against him, and he wants to plot against you. I can say for sure that the Immortal Lord is plotting against your prehistoric civilization's one God system that replaces the heavenly Tao. Because in this world, other than me, only a freak like him can unleash the power of the system and repair it. If he takes the systems of the one God from you, no one will be able to do anything about him. You have to be careful. Although we're working together to deal with him, I suspect that you're actually working with him to deal with me. You're trying to lure me into a dangerous situation. I have to think about that. Immortal Lord, I know you too well. You probably don't know how well I know you, do you? I know all of your experiences, your schemes and schemes. Of course, Gu Chunsha didn't trust the Immortal Lord. In the dream world that the heaven realms had pulled him into, the Celestial Master's personality was crafty, sinister, and ruthless. He was a peerless hero. This time, the Celestial Master's suggestion to join forces with him to deal with Gu Tiansha was definitely a scheme to lure him into the trap. How could he trust the Immortal Lord? Gu Tashin-sun really isn't a good person. I can't believe you're suspecting me. The Immortal Lord frowned. This is the best time to deal with Gu Chunsha. He hasn't recovered from his battle with you. If we delay any longer, we'll miss the opportunity. No matter what you say, it's useless. Gu Chunsha waved his hand. How about this? You attack first, find Gu Chunsha, and fight him. I'll naturally work with you to defeat and seal him. How about it? Also, I need to see the systems of the one God. That's the only way I can help you get rid of some of its flaws. You're a very cautious person, Gu Chunsha, the Immortal Lord said with a cold smile. You're always trying to take advantage of me. The ancient civilization I acquired is the most mysterious and powerful entity in existence. If I let you inject the heavenly Tao technique into it, with your ability, you will immediately be able to understand the secrets within. In that case, my Heavenly Designer Institution will be meaningless. You can completely obtain the knowledge and build a brand new Heavenly Designer Institution, the Immortal Master sneered. Oh really? Gu Chunsha said. It's not that simple, Immortal Lord. You're mistaken. The Heavenly Designer Institution and the Calming Immortal Department aren't about treasures, machines, cultivation techniques, or medicinal pills. They're about people. I have a fragment of the Epic Cruiser, which means I can use it to unravel the secrets of the ancient civilization. Do you really think I don't know anything about the machines of the ancient civilization? My body as the king of common life contains a fragment of the epical cruiser, which will be of great help to your one God system. I can't believe you refused me. What a pity. Chapter 772. You people can't even work together. When Gu Chunsha heard the Immortal Lord's threat, he couldn't help but laugh. I dare say that if you form an alliance, you'll kill each other in less than 3 days. I'm more afraid you won't form an alliance. If you do, I can immediately activate a plan to destroy you. Think about it. The Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Chunsha, isn't someone who's willing to be the leader of your alliance. Then, I'll take it by force. On the first day of the alliance, the God system you left behind from the prehistoric civilization will fall into his hands. With that treasure, he'll be like a tiger that has grown wings. He'll have the confidence to fight me, and maybe even kill me. Do you think he'll let you go? Gu Qinsha, what are you trying to do? The immortal lord didn't hold back. If you're going to be so aggressive today, then we'll fight. I'm not afraid of both sides suffering. The world is in chaos, and I've set up many pawns in the Heavenly Craftsmanship Institute. I'm sure you know that if I act recklessly, the world you've worked so hard to build will fall into chaos. Who knows how many people will bleed? Immortal Lord, are you threatening me? Gu Qinsha's eyes flashed with coldness. I'm not threatening you. I'm just stating a fact. If we fight, if we tear apart all pretense of cordiality, then both sides will suffer. In the end, you're just a junior. The immortal master seemed to be truly enraged. I've seen all kinds of destruction over the years. I've destroyed countless countries and worlds, and witnessed the rise and fall of many eras. Although the eternal dynasty is prosperous for a time, it's nothing more than a fleeting cloud to me. However, it's very important to you. If I don't care about anything, the world will be thrown into chaos, and I want to see how you're going to deal with it. In the 36th year of the Heavenly Talisman, the great calamity will descend. The reason that your calming immortal division's dimensional realm is able to revolve so quickly is because of all the mysteries that the little Grand Mist tree has derived. In the end, all of this is because of the destiny of the imperial court and the faith of the people. Currently, the imperial court has a population of 30 billion people, and every day they will produce a massive amount of the power of the will of the people. If there is any turmoil, then I fear that the will of the people will scatter and your calming immortal division will immediately be unable to make ends meet. You must consider this point carefully. In other words, I can act recklessly, but you can't. This is the so-called fear of hurting the innocent. Immortal Lord, you established the Heavenly Designer Institute and secretly gathered faith from the people. Do you really think I don't know? Gu Qinsha waved his hand and said, you also need to gather the hearts of the people of China and pour them into it. Only then can you activate your God system. In fact, the faith of all worlds is not as important as the faith and hearts of the people of China. Only those who have mastered the orthodoxy of China can be called the Son of Heaven. It wasn't easy for him to establish such a good situation, so he definitely wouldn't dare to mess around. As for me, as long as you stir up trouble, I have absolute confidence that I can suppress you. I'm not afraid of the turmoil in the world. The more turbulent the world is, the more talented people will appear. The heroes of our calming immortal division are born from blood and fire. After saying so much, you still won't give up? The immortal lord seemed to have lost his patience. In that case, let's fight to the death. Well said. Just then, a voice was heard. A man wearing a long robe and a mask appeared next to the immortal lord. Who else could it be but Wan Senshi? Wan Senshi, you're here too? Advancing and retreating together with the immortal lord? You two old antiques, ancient existences from the primal chaos. You seem united on the surface, but you're actually divided at heart. You're nothing more than a motley crew. Back when you captured my subordinate Yuan Lu and organized some alliance of myriad immortals, you should have known this would happen to you. Gu Qinsha had long since guessed that Wan Senshi would appear. Junior, you can only be so arrogant for a while. It was hard to tell what kind of face Wan Senshi had behind the mask, but from his words, one could hear the murderous intent in them. But if I join forces with the immortal lord, I'm afraid your calming immortal division can't do anything to us. What other experts are there? Come out at once. Gu Qinsha ignored Wan Senshi's words. All of a sudden, a ring of light appeared in the air. Within the ring of light, an old man appeared. He was 9 feet tall, extremely slender, with a beard that reached his chest. His eyebrows were all white, but his hair was fiery red, like dancing flames. With one glance, one could tell that he possessed an earth-shattering fighting will. His cultivation base was actually not below that of Wan Senshi and the Immortal Lord. One had to know that both Wan Senshi and the Immortal Lord were in the celestial longevity realm, which meant that they stood at the peak of all worlds. Up until now, if you didn't count Heavenly Talisman Grand Emperor Gu Taxian, there hadn't been anyone in the celestial prime realm. Of course, in the future, the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Chansha, would be able to cultivate to the celestial prime realm. After all, their innate nature was already different. Yet another celestial longevity realm old-timer. An existence like that was enough to suppress all the worlds in the world. Gu Chansha wasn't afraid of the immortal Lord, but with Wan Senshi and another old-timer at the same level, it was terrifying. If the three of them joined forces, he would be at a disadvantage. After all, no matter how strong he was only at the 30-second transformation of the Tao realm, one thought heaven span. The difference between that level and the celestial longevity realm was incalculable. But when Gu Chansha saw the white-browed, red-haired old man, he wasn't surprised. It was as if he had expected this. His gaze was as sharp as a blade. Who would have thought that one of the three celestial sovereigns, victorious fighter, would finally appear? He must have comprehended some secret of the primordial tree. That's right, this was one of the three legendary celestial sovereigns, victorious fighter's true form. Do 19 and Do Eu's father. Victorious fighter, who had dominated the primeval times and had never been defeated. The three celestial sovereigns hadn't been the strongest since ancient times, but they were the best at scheming. Who knew how many tribulations they had gone through? They had survived countless battles between immortals, demons, monsters, and gods, and each time, they had obtained enough benefits. This was especially true during the era of the ancient emperors. They had been the masters of every generation of ancient emperors, searching for children of destiny and teaching them. The emperor had unified the divine prefecture and suppressed the four seas. Everyone in the world knew that the emperor's masters were the three celestial sovereigns. This showed just how powerful the three celestial sovereigns were. In the immortal Tao, the decrees of the three celestial sovereigns were the truth. In the immortal Tao, the old ancestor of the Black Heaven-Earth sect, old ancestor Heaven-Earth, and the Tai mystic sects, Heavenly Lord Tai, had all died because of the schemes of the three celestial sovereigns. Over the past tens of thousands of years, anyone who obeyed the three celestial sovereigns would be safe, while anyone who disobeyed them would die. This was the power of the three celestial sovereigns. Although this was Gu Chansha's first time seeing victorious fighter, he had long heard of the celestial sovereign's name. He had even learned what victorious fighter's true form looked like from Do 19's memories. The world is truly filled with geniuses. To think that a hero like you would actually be born. Even I have no choice but to come out together with Immortal Master Wan and Senior Immortal Master. I want to see just how powerful the person who truly controls the world is. Victorious Fighter was indeed a junior to Wan Senshi and the Immortal Master, but he didn't seem to be any weaker than the two old geezers. Moreover, there seemed to be a vast and mysterious aura on Victorious Fighter's body. It was much purer, more majestic than the little Hongmeng tree's aura. This was the real Hongmeng Chi. It came from the Hongmeng tree. The three celestial sovereigns hadn't come out for a long time because they were scheming to obtain the Hongmeng tree. They wanted to obtain this mysterious existence because the tree seemed to be formed from some secret that was outside of the heavenly Tao. To the heavenly Tao, it was like an outsider. Although it was ruled by the heavenly Tao in name, it had its own internal system. The three great magic treasures were the primeval dragon gate, the heavenly sacrificial decree, and the Hongmeng tree. Among them, the Hongmeng tree was the strongest. Who knew how many connate spiritual treasures it had given birth to? Even supreme Buddhas had been born from the Hongmeng tree. Congratulations, victorious fighter. You three celestial sovereigns have finally obtained a portion of the Hongmeng tree's power through the manipulation of the heavenly Tao. Now, you can use some of the tree's power. It was because of these methods that you finally came out victorious fighter. I'm sure Celestial Yuan Gu and Celestial Pu Tuo couldn't wait any longer, Gu Chansha said. I came here to resolve the conflict. I came for the sake of the people of the world, Victorious Fighter said righteously. The Celestial Lord Victorious Fighter spoke righteously, Your battle with the heavenly designer institution has caused the world to bleed. You must not do this. Also, the outcome of the battle between my daughter and Chang Wei-yong has already been decided. Gu Qinsha, do you not want to know about this? Oh, Gu Qinsha's expression changed. He was indeed worried about this matter, but because it was related to Chang Wei-yong's life and death, he wouldn't interfere. If Chang Wei-yong could pass this hurdle, she would be able to break through to the celestial sovereign realm. Do Yu was the same. He narrowed his eyes and rapidly calculated. All of a sudden, killing intent surged from his body. My goodness, Chang Wei-yong has fallen into your hands? That's not it. Victorious fighter smiled, as if everything was under his control. My daughter and Chang Wei-yong were enemies during the battle. In the end, they admired each other and became friends. They became friends who would rely on each other for life and death. Then, both of them broke through to the celestial sovereign realm. Now, the two of them have entered the primordial tree to cultivate. Chang Wei-yong has also become our disciple. This is a good thing. What do you think? What a joke. Gu Qinsha's killing intent surged. Chang Wei-yong comprehended an anomaly herself. She's a true heaven-defying Tao. She even dared to resist the heavenly Tao. Who do you three celestial sovereigns think you are? At the end of the day, you're just three old dogs struggling at death's door. Are you even worthy of being Chang Wei-yong's master? Do you really think I can't calculate it? How can the three of you old dogs compare to my cultivation? You, heavenly venerate victorious fighter, had never expected that Gu Qinsha would be so impolite as to directly call him three old dogs. His hair seemed to instantly turn into a flaming hell as a terrifying aura enveloped the vast space-time. Chapter 773. After reaching the god level, Gu Qinsha had devoured Lord Sunmoon Gu Tiansha's essence, and then reached the level of one thought heaven span, the 23rd transformation of the Tao realm. He no longer feared any of the old-timers. He had even come into contact with something that surpassed the heavenly Taos. The laws of space and time were under the jurisdiction of the heavenly Taos, but Gu Taxian's appearance had broken that rule. His entanglement with the heavenly Taos had resulted in Gu Tiansha. Gu Tiansha's essence contained some sort of transcendence, and Gu Qinsha's heavenly Tao magic was the key to activating that essence. Gu Qinsha's power had already been established, and he no longer had to lower his head in front of any faction. In the future, he would use his power to break all laws. Gu Qinsha hadn't divined the battle between Chang Wei-yong and Do Yu before because he was afraid it would affect Chang Wei-yong's ascension. He knew that once Chang Wei-yong became an Empyrean, she would return to the calming immortal department. But now Celestial Victorious Battle had appeared and said that Chang Wei-yong had joined the three Empyreans. Gu Qinsha had immediately started divining and found that Chang Wei-yong had indeed become an Empyrean. However, her destiny seemed to have been severed, and she had most likely been killed. He was instantly enraged, and his killing intent toward the three Empyreans, especially Celestial Victorious Battle, reached its peak. Ha ha! Once Senshi laughed loudly. Victorious Battle, this kid actually insulted you like this? That's a huge humiliation. I remember that in the past tens of thousands of years, no one has ever dared to call you three Empyreans, three old dogs. How about it? Let's join forces to kill this kid. What do you say? You think you can kill me by yourself, once Senshi? Loser, even before I ascended to the deity level, I was able to seize your new divine prefecture and cause your plans to fall short of success, let alone the current me. Gu Qinsha said disdainfully, in my opinion, you're even worse than an old dog. Junior, how dare you be so insolent? Heavenly Venerate Victorious Battling seemed like he was about to make a move at any moment. I have already seen through your strength. Even if you were to fight against the Immortal Master, you would only end up with a lose-lose situation if you relied on all your techniques. Coupled with Immortal Master Wand, you would definitely lose. At most, you would be able to escape. However, I have completely grasped the supreme secret of the Hongmeng tree. I came here this time with the intention of bringing peace to the world, to have your calming immortal department and Heavenly Craft Academy eliminate the conflict. Yet you are so deranged, a devil that is seeped into your marrow. It seems like the Celestial Designer Institute must be eradicated. You are the source of all disasters. You are the true demon race, and you will bring great harm to the Central Divine Prefecture. It really is an old dog barking. When Gu Qinsha heard this, he was so angry that he laughed instead. Our imperial court controls the world, tranquil celestial sect. You three old dogs are traitors and traitors to begin with, yet you still dare to be so arrogant. Do you really think that the world is the same as before? Do you really think that you can abolish the emperor, take control of the divine weapon, and desecrate the country? Kid, do you know why I told you so much? Heavenly Venerate Victorious Fighter seemed to have calmed down, and a cold smile appeared on his face. The moment you said those words about the three old dogs, I could have torn you to shreds. But you've said so much. Even if you die, it will be worth it. You're just using the power of the primordial tree to seal up the surroundings and shift this space to a certain place, making it impossible for me to escape. That way, the three of you can unleash your powers to your heart's content and kill me. Gu Qinsha looked around. Indeed, the entire space-time had been shifted away. He was no longer in the wildlands. Heavenly Venerate Victorious Fighter did not attack just now because he was completing a series of seals, making it impossible for Gu Qinsha to escape. That's right. Right now, this space-time has arrived at a perilous place in the universe. This perilous place is called the Land of Ashes. Any existence that comes here will be reduced to ashes. I'd like to see if you can escape from our attacks. Heavenly Venerate Victorious Fighter waved his hand, and the entire space was completely shattered, revealing the appearance of this perilous place. There was fog everywhere. This fog was made up of dust and haze, not ordinary mountain fog or sea fog. Instead, it was water vapor. Every speck of dust contained immense destructive power. Within the fog, one would feel as if millions of primordial divine mountains were pressing down on them. Every speck of dust was equivalent to a primordial divine mountain. Although it seemed as if they were everywhere, in reality, they were constantly jumping and colliding with each other at an extremely high speed. Crackle. Huge collisions came one after another around Gu Qinsha. In that instant, he felt as if he was being struck by countless meteors. Collisions of this level could destroy a sage. Even a heavenly venerate would find it difficult to escape this place. This was because the fog in this land of ashes seemed to be endless. It was also impossible to tear through the void and escape this place. How is it? Heavenly Venerate Victorious Fighter said, "This land of ashes is one of the fatal traps that I've set up for tens of thousands of years. Back then, Heavenly Venerate Tai perished here." He stood side by side with the Immortal Master and Wan Senshi. The dust and haze were slowly dissipating, but they were actually unable to strengthen their bodies. From the looks of it, this perilous place in the universe seemed to have been refined into some sort of killing array by Heavenly Venerate Victorious Fighter. Every single speck of dust and haze here is the true essence that has been condensed naturally by the cosmic tides and chaos for billions of years. If you bring any single speck of dust and haze here into the endless mainland, you can create a primordial divine mountain or even a brand new continent. The Immortal Master said, "Heavenly Venerate Victorious Fighter, although you guys haven't cultivated for as long as us, your strength has already reached the heavenly longevity realm. In fact, all of you have refined your own dimensional realm and can even comprehend some of the secrets of the primordial tree. By borrowing some of its power, you guys can set up a fatal formation. Heavenly Venerate Victorious Fighter, you alone can go against me." Wan Senshi lamented. "It seems like the three of you heavenly venerates have already become the strongest force of this era. Seniors, you're too kind." Heavenly Venerate Victorious Fighter looked at Gu Qinsha, who was wrapped in dust and haze and was rather courteous. He knew that regardless of whether it was the immortal master or Wan Senshi, both of them had cultivated for far longer than him. They had yet to fully reveal their hidden techniques. Do you think that you can trap me just like that? This land of ashes is indeed a good place. Who would have thought that the power of the universe would be so fierce? There are so many dangerous lands, and even heavenly venerates can't do anything in the face of this majestic power. Gu Chansha looked at the surrounding haze that was surging towards him. Even with his own strength, it was actually difficult for him to charge out, much less tear open space and leave this place. Each speck of haze was like a primordial divine mountain that far exceeded a god-level dust world. Even the primordial dust of a Tao Realm 35 transformation realm cultivator was nothing compared to the haze here. The fog here was a strange substance that had been produced in the Big Bang of the primal chaos at the beginning of the universe. It had been compressed, swallowed, and condensed by the cosmic tide force for billions of years. Only then did it form this land of death, the land of ashes. Let's do it. Heavenly Venerate Victorious Fighter didn't seem to want to say anything more to Gu Qinsha. He looked at Wan Senshi and the Immortal Master and said, "Seniors, this is the time to use your strongest trump cards. Refine and divide this kid in one go. With the help of this kid's source, we might be able to reach the Sky Essence Realm. This kid has to die." Suddenly, a huge light appeared behind Wan Senshi. Within this light, countless immortals seemed to appear. It was as though he was carrying a real immortal world on his back. Immortal world source, myriad Daos in the heavens. Heavenly Venerate Victorious Fighter saw this, and his heart trembled. This was Wan Senshi's true strength. Within that huge light, the immortal world appeared to be the noblest purple color. The so-called immortal world was actually just a name. There were no real immortals living there. Just like the spiritual world was a huge dimension with only spiritual chi. It was a flat universe. It was the same for the immortal world. It was also a huge flat universe with only immortal chi. The first and 19th transformation of the Tao realm, size manipulation, mainly relied on the absorption of spiritual chi. After cultivating to the 20th transformation of the Tao realm, gathering and dispersing impermanence, one would need to absorb higher quality immortal chi to obtain the power to circulate. The immortal world was vast and boundless. Although it couldn't compare to the heaven realm of the land of infinity, this huge world was a great existence between the heaven realm and the great thousand world. Who would have thought that Wan Senshi would actually obtain the recognition of the immortal world source? This was his true trump card, and it was precisely because of this that he called himself Wan Senshi. His pocket dimension had not appeared all this while. Now that it had finally appeared, it was that huge radiant world with a purple color at its core. This was the heaven's immortal world, and it was Wan Senshi's trump card. It was also a move that he had not used all this while. This time around, he knew that if he did not use his strongest move, he might not be able to suppress Gu Qinsha. Prehistoric civilization. At this moment, a gigantic shadow appeared behind the back of the Immortal Master. This shadow seemed to be able to fight against the heavenly Tao. She had activated her true strength as well. Is that so? Seems like you guys aren't going to rest until you kill me this time around. Gu Qinsha roared out in laughter. Xing Qiongshi, are you still not going to come out? Join forces with me to deal with these 3 old dogs. Boom! All of a sudden, a tremendous force tore through this place as a towering figure appeared, emanating an ominous aura. This was the #1 ferocious being of the ancient divine continent, Xing Qiongshi, who tore the emperor apart with her bare hands. Chapter 774. Gu Qinsha had never acted rashly. He dragged Xing Qiongshi along with him. In the past, he had worked with Xing Qiongshi. He had even exchanged his experience of refining the new divine land with Xing Qiongshi. Furthermore, ever since he had survived the tribulation and refined Xing Qiongshi's head into the divine continent gourd in the dream world, he had learned all of Xing Qiongshi's experiences and secrets. Xing Qiongshi no longer had any secrets from him. Xing Qiongshi in the real world didn't know about this at all. Now, Gu Chunsha missed the dream world a little. Although it was dangerous inside, it allowed him to learn countless secrets and bring them back to the real world. Unfortunately, he couldn't enter the dream world again. Fortunately, he had obtained all of Xing Qiongshir's secrets. He knew that Xing Qiongshir's greatest wish was to master the 100th stage of the Divine Land Gourd and kill the 3 heavenly sovereigns. Coincidentally, Gu Chunsha could fulfill both of his wishes. Therefore, the moment Heavenly Lord Victorious Doer appeared, Gu Chunsha used his divine will to pierce through the void and lock onto Xing Qiongshir's location. He had already communicated with him. Xing Qiongshi would definitely be very interested in joining forces with him to kill Heavenly Lord Victorious Doer. Moreover, Xing Qiongshi would probably be even more interested in Xing Qiongshi now that he had a deeper understanding of the Divine Land Gourd. Therefore, Xing Qiongshi had come. He had come to the land of Ash. Xing Qiongshi, seeing Xing Qiongshir's arrival, the Heavenly Lord Victorious Doer was not surprised in the slightest. Instead, his face was filled with confidence. So, you're here as expected. You've saved me a lot of trouble. I didn't expect you to grow to this level. Xing Qiongshi ignored Heavenly Lord Victorious Doer and looked at Gu Chunsha. I help you this time. You should first tell me all the secrets of the Divine Land Gourd. Only after I obtain them can I help you deal with this old dog and your enemies. How about it? Do you really think that these 3 people can do anything to me without knowing all the traps they've set up? Gu Chunsha didn't care at all. The reason why I called you here is actually to help you take revenge. You want to learn the great Dharma of Shenzhou? It's very simple. I'll tell you how to truly comprehend it. The land of Ash here is very beneficial to my cultivation of the Divine Prefecture Grand Magic. Every speck of dust is an evolution of the primordial chaos. It has been compressed by the tides of the universe over billions of years. Every speck of dust can transform into an ancient divine mountain or even a continent. It's the best material for me to cultivate the Divine Prefecture Grand Magic. As he spoke, Gu Chunsha's body suddenly changed. He turned into a gourd. Divine Land Gourd. He himself had turned into the real Divine Land Gourd. Back then, in the dream world, Gu Chunsha had successfully refined Xing Qiongshir's head and turned it into the Divine Land Gourd. Now, Gu Chunsha himself had turned into the Divine Land Gourd, which was even more mysterious than the dream world. This was because he had cultivated to the god level and had devoured the source of the Sun Moon Master Gu Chunsha. His strength had exceeded the dream world by more than 100 times. The moment he turned into the Divine Land Gourd, a huge suction force immediately appeared within the gourd. Instantly, all the surrounding fog was sucked into the Divine Land Gourd. This fog was a huge pressure on Heavenly Venerables. It could even trap and kill Heavenly Venerables within it. But for Gu Chunsha, the fog here was the best tonic. Back then, when the 3 Heavenly Venerables refined the Jade Mountain to suppress Xing Qiongshi, they incorporated the dust here into it. That's why it had such great power and could suppress Xing Qiongshi to the point where she couldn't move. But at that time, even the 3 Heavenly Venerables couldn't completely control the fog and dust here. After Gu Chunsha turned into the Divine Land Gourd, countless fog was sucked into the gourd. In the depths of the gourd, the dust was refined by his heavenly Tao technique, and a real divine land was born. Buzz, in an instant, the Divine Land Gourd that Gu Chunsha had turned into shot out a stream of vital energy. This vital energy condensed into a divine land that looked exactly like the one in the Central Plains. There was no difference at all. This was just too similar to the real divine land in the Central Plains. Gu Chunsha had actually used the dust here to help him condense the real divine land. Compared to the divine land before him, Wan Senchi's new divine land was like child's play. It didn't have any sense of propriety. At this moment, the divine land that Gu Chunsha had created was the real divine land. The real divine land. It could pass off the fake as the real one. This was Gu Chunsha's own microscopic dust world. Although the microscopic dust world in the sphere of the people's wish was created by Gu Chansha himself, it didn't belong to his origin world. Instead, it was an existence like a magic treasure. After Gu Chansha cultivated to the god level, he would also give birth to his own microscopic dust world. This world would be his true origin world. In the past, the sphere of the people's wish had been successfully refined with the help of external objects. At first, it had been with the help of the heavenly demon book, and then it had been fused with many other treasures. It was actually a hodgepodge. Of course, the sphere had become more and more refined as time went on. Now that it had been fused with the little Hongmeng tree, it had become the largest fruit, and it had gone from acquired to innate. Gu Chensha hadn't had the time to refine his own microscopic dust world. Now, he finally had the chance to turn into the Divine Land Gourd, absorbing the dust here and condensing the real Divine Land. In order to protect the Divine Land in the Central Plains, his microscopic dust world had to become the Divine Land in the Central Plains. Moreover, there was no world more wondrous than the Divine Land in the Central Plains. Other cultivators couldn't create something like this. Even an existence like one, Senshi had pitifully little understanding of the Divine Land. The new Divine Land he created was very crude. Of all the experts in the world who understood the Divine Land, if Gu Chansha said he was number 2, no one would dare say they were number 1. Xing Qiongshi couldn't do it, and the Great Spirit God couldn't do it either. The Great Spirit God had operated in Xian Province for 10,000 years, and his faith had seeped into the land of Xian Province. With Xian Province as the center, his faith had spread outwards, slowly eroding the Divine Land like a malignant tumor. But in Gu Chensh's eyes, this kind of behavior was actually very childish. He hadn't comprehended the secrets of the Divine Land at all. It had to be said that after Gu Chansha cultivated to the god level and devoured the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha's essence, his vision was many times better than before. He had gained a comprehensive understanding of the vast amount of knowledge he had gained. Over the years, he had gained far more knowledge than any of the old-timers. There were many things in the many heavens that he didn't know. At first, he had acquired the memories of Jiang Gongwang, the Lord of 7 Stars. Later, he had acquired the memories of the Dharma Saint, the martial sage, Chang Yuzhou, Celestial Tai, and even the entire Buddhist civilization. He had even acquired the memories of Xing Qiongshi and the Immortal Lord. All of this knowledge, combined with his own calculations and observations, had formed his own Tao of mending the heavens. Now he was absorbing the dust and transforming it into a divine land. In the blink of an eye, the true Divine Land was born from the Divine Land Gourd. Not even Celestial Victorious Fighter, the Immortal Lord, Wan Senshi, or Xing Qiongshi could have predicted this would happen. Before they could react, Gu Chansha sent a mental message to Xing Qiongshi. Xing Qiongshi, this is the true grand magic of the Divine Land. I am the Divine Land, and the Divine Land is me. This is the best chance for you to create a middle-class world. I'll lend you a hand. Hurry up and transform. A mental message was sent to Xing Qiongshi. The grand magic of the Divine Land was passed on to Xing Qiongshi in its entirety. Xing Qiongshi looked like he had been struck by lightning, and then began to laugh uproariously. Wonderful, wonderful. Even though I created the grand magic of the Divine Land, I can't believe you were the one who perfected it. It seems you are the true son of the Divine Land. Divine Land Gourd, transform. Next, Xing Qiongshi's body transformed into the Divine Land Gourd. As he transformed, he breathed in and out, sucking in all the dust and mist in the area. The 2 gourds sucked in the dust and spat out the energy of the world, transforming into the true Divine Land. This transformation happened in the blink of an eye. Gu Chansha summoned Xing Qiongshi and imparted him with the true meaning of the Divine Land Gourd transformation. Both of them transformed into gourds and absorbed the energy of the area. Not only did they grow stronger, they also drew upon the power of the Divine Land. Crackle. Immediately, the seals created by the Immortal Master, Wan Senshi, and the victorious battle celestial were all broken. A vast power of the medium dimension emanated from Xing Qingshi's divine land gore transformation. He had finally transformed his minor chiliocosm into a medium dimension. Originally, he had his own medium dimension. Unfortunately, it had been destroyed by the immortal, slaying, God-punishing gourd. Although he had been resurrected, he had never been able to cultivate it. Now that he had obtained the most profound meaning of the grand magic of the divine land, he had finally succeeded. Refined these two fiends. The victorious battle celestial roared. His battle intent seemed to be able to tear through anything. Then, the shadow of a huge tree appeared behind him. This tree was the real, primordial tree. It wasn't that the tree had descended, but that the victorious battle celestial had borrowed the power of the tree. Among the three celestial lords, the victorious battle celestial was number one in terms of magical power, combat prowess, and combat prowess. There was no doubt about that. His daughter, Do-Yu, had inherited his orthodoxy. Therefore, among the disciples of the three celestial lords, Do-Yu was number one in terms of magical power. As for the other two celestial lords, one was number one in terms of luck, and the other was number one in terms of divination. The number one in terms of luck was the best at gathering destiny. In other words, it was the way of governing a country, the way of management. Similarly, a group of disciples could unleash the greatest power of worship, causing the unity of their hearts to be the strongest. That was the most terrifying thing. That was because of the final move of the sun of heaven's God-sealing art. Even if one had the power to shine as brightly as the sun and moon, and had the same lifespan as the heavens and earth, they still wouldn't be able to reach the highest realm. Therefore, among the three celestial lords, the celestial lord with the highest luck was the most terrifying existence. Chapter 775. At this point, heavenly venerable victorious battle had to act. Otherwise, this plan would fail. Moreover, Gu Chansha and Xing Qiongshi had borrowed the power of the land of ashes to refine the divine land gourd. Clearly, their Tao had improved tremendously. If they let them go, they would be even more uncontrollable in the future. As Gu Chansha grew stronger, the three heavenly venerables would be in big trouble. Since ancient times, the three heavenly venerables had seen many brilliant powerhouses who had posed a threat to them. However, they had always been scheming and had killed countless powerhouses. But now the times had changed. They felt that Gu Chansha and even the people from the Celestial Tranquility Department had appeared out of nowhere and were outside of their calculations. In fact, ever since Gu Taxian had appeared, they had retreated. This was because they knew that they could no longer control the world. The world had entered a new era, one that did not belong to them. They had to kill Gu Chansha and seize his destiny. Only then could they once again stand at the peak of the world. They could control everything and do as they pleased. If Gu Chansha had not ascended to the deity realm, they could still carry out various schemes and take their time. Even if he had ascended to the deity realm, they still felt that they could control the situation. However, Gu Chansha had devoured the source of the Sun Moon Lord Gu Chansha as soon as he ascended to the deity realm. This meant that the situation was completely different from what they had imagined. Kill. Heavenly venerable victorious battle had not truly fought in a long time. In this world, there were very few people who were worthy of him personally fighting. But now he had no choice but to go all out. He could no longer suppress Gu Chencha's divine land gourd and Xing Qiongshir's divine land gourd by relying on his heavenly longevity realm power. He could only use the power of the Hongmeng tree. However, the Hongmeng tree's power was immense. Even though the three heavenly venerables had cultivated it for a long time, they still could not completely comprehend it. They could only use less than 1/10,000th of the Hongmeng tree's power. If they could completely use the Hongmeng tree's power, they would be able to sweep through the world. They would be at the peak of the Great Thousand Realms. Even in the Great Thousand Realms, there were still differences in power. In the Great Thousand Worlds, the Heaven Sacrificial Talisman, Desolate Dragon Gate, and Primordial Tree were the pinnacle existences. The other Great Thousand Worlds, Mysterious Origin, Great Thousand Worlds, Saha, Great Thousand Worlds, and many others paled in comparison to these three treasures. On the other hand, the Sun-Moon universe was the same as the three Dharma treasures. As for the Central Divine Prefecture, it was even more mysterious than these three treasures. After reaching the Tianyuan realm of the boundless world, the power was different. It was not something that living beings could touch. The true aura of the Hongming tree corroded the divine prefecture gourd and kept washing over it. It actually suppressed the divine prefecture that Gu Chunsha and Xing Qingshi's divine prefecture gourd had spat out. At this time, the immortal lord activated his system and, in conjunction with the victorious fighter celestial's power, added another layer of seal. Wan Xinshi activated his cloud sort immortal realm. He actually activated the source of the immortal world, which descended violently. Countless purple beams of light pierced through the east, west, north, and south. Within those purple beams of light, immortals appeared. It seemed that since ancient times, the immortals who had existed since the creation of the world had died and entered the immortal world. Anyone who had cultivated their magical powers to the 20 transformations of the Tao realm could be called immortals. These immortals were not immortal, but there was a limit to their lifespans. Once they died, they would completely dissipate. However, a will that sought the path of immortality would fuse with the immortal world. Wan Xinshi used this will to activate the true power of the immortal world, which was also a great thousand realms. In fact, the power of the immortal world surpassed that of ordinary great thousand realms. Kill. Wan Xinshi didn't hold anything back, and his energy surged. Deep down, Celestial Victorious Celestial was secretly shocked. If it weren't for all the hard work we've put into obtaining the protection of the Grand Mist Tree, we probably wouldn't be a match for these old-timers. Be it the Immortal Lord or Wan Xinshi, if they really fought, they would be terrifying to the extreme. The three Celestials had never looked down on the old-timers. However, while they were shaking the heavens and earth, the old-timers had all retired into seclusion. Who knew what they were plotting? Now they knew that the reason the old-timers didn't come out into the world was because they wanted to gain more power and cultivation bases. Wan Xinshi was completely focused on connecting to the immortal world, and the Immortal Lord was focused on researching ancient civilization, much like they were researching the Grand Mist Tree. How could they possibly have time to think about anything else? The pressure from the three old-timers was now weighing down on Gu Chunsha, and Gu Chunsha immediately felt like he was in imminent danger. However, he wasn't afraid at all. As far as he was concerned, it was just a bit of pressure. After devouring a tenth of the Sun-Moon Lord Gu Chunsha's essence, his body had undergone an inconceivable transformation, and he was now almost indestructible and deathless. Grand Mist Energy, devour heaven and earth once more. Gu Chunsha suddenly spun the divine prefecture gourd, absorbing all the dust in the area. Inside the gourd, more Grand Mist Energy was born, which then transformed into a little Grand Mist Tree. This little Hongmeng tree was not the original version. Gu Chunsha had refined it on the spot. However, even though he had refined it on the spot, it was still very mysterious. At the same time, he was gaining enlightenment of the Tao of Grand Mist Tree. He was trying to trace the origins of the Grand Mist Tree and how it could give birth to a pre-heaven spirit treasure. Furthermore, it existed in a weak space-time dimension under the jurisdiction of the Tao of Heaven. It was a very profound subject that not even heavenly longevity old-timers could understand. But Gu Chunsha's knowledge far surpassed theirs. Although he hadn't seen the real Grand Mist Tree, he had the memories of the Buddha. The Supreme Buddha had been a person condensed from the Grand Mist Tree. Today, Heavenly Venerate Victorious Doer had used his Grand Mist energy to suppress him. To him, this was actually a great opportunity to temper himself. Because he had obtained the real Grand Mist energy, he could conduct research on it. Absorb, transform, Tao of Heaven. A few voices came from the divine prefecture gourd that Gu Chunsha had transformed into. Suddenly, he tore off a large chunk of the primordial chaos that heavenly venerate victorious battle had suppressed. This large chunk of primordial chaos rushed into the divine prefecture gourd and fused with the power of the divine prefecture. Immediately, various changes occurred. The Tao of heaven governs everything. The Tao of the divine prefecture is in the center, while the Tao of primordial chaos roams outside. 3 parts become one, and now it's complete. Ha ha ha! The divine prefecture gourd that Gu Chansha had transformed into roared. It was as if billions of worlds were being born and destroyed at the same time. He had cultivated the Tao of heaven and had begun to comprehend what the true Tao of heaven was. At the same time, he had grasped the 100 levels of the divine prefecture gourd art. He had truly understood what the Tao of the divine prefecture was. At the same time, he was currently comprehending the Tao of primordial chaos. The essence of the Tao of primordial chaos was the grand mist tree. The Tao of heaven, the Tao of the divine prefecture, and the Tao of primordial chaos. When the 3 Tao were combined, they formed Gu Chencha's own Tao of mending the heavens, the Tao of reforming the heavens. An aura similar to the true origin of primordial chaos was emitted from his divine prefecture gourd. This caused victorious battle's expression to change greatly. You can actually absorb my grand mist energy and comprehend the Tao of primordial chaos. You are already prepared. Your Tao of primordial chaos is even more profound than mine. How is that possible? I've comprehended the Tao of primordial chaos for tens of thousands of years, and only then did I comprehend some exquisite principles. How is it impossible? Gu Chensha suddenly appeared from the divine prefecture gourd. At the very center of the divine prefecture Middlelands, in the Sin province, a primordial chaos tree appeared. The primordial chaos tree used countless demonic regions as nourishment. It spread out and condensed countless treasures and elixirs to provide for the people of the divine prefecture Middlelands. From then on, the divine prefecture Middlelands truly became the center of the myriad worlds. It had the atmosphere of the center of the celestial realm. Since ancient times, the people of the divine prefecture Middlelands had suffered greatly. It was not like they lived in the celestial realm, but in the mortal realm. This was not normal, nor was it reasonable. As the center of the celestial realm and the myriad worlds of the celestial realm, the people of the divine prefecture Middlelands should be able to move mountains and fill seas. The immortal Tao should be prosperous. It should not be like the people of the past, who did not even have enough to eat, who were treated as food by demons, and who were treated as slaves by the gods. Gu Qinsha wanted to change all of this. He had created the divine land of his dreams. The Tao of the divine prefecture and the Tao of primordial chaos combined, coupled with the various Tao of heaven. Everything in the celestial realm finally became a perfect divine prefecture. This was the true divine prefecture. Buzz Gu Chinch's divine prefecture bottle gourd kept expanding, as if it had the ability to absorb everything. The divine prefecture Middlelands that was spat out was the primordial chaos tree, which covered the entire divine prefecture, resisting everything and nurturing everything. The primordial chaos tree was in the center of the divine prefecture, and it could truly connect with the myriad worlds. Gu Chansha had already mastered the true Tao of the divine prefecture and the Tao of primordial chaos, combining them together. Right now, Gu Chansha was constantly trying to figure out what the perfect divine prefecture would be like. It allowed him to find some logic. If the heavenly Tao was lacking, all living beings would come to make up for it. If the divine prefecture was lacking, primordial chaos would come to make up for it. Under the pressure of Wan Senshi, the immortal master, and the victorious fighting celestial, Gu Chinch's cultivation rose again. He absorbed the dust here, fusing it into his own minute dust world, and then absorbed the primordial chaos chi that the victorious fighting celestial gave off, evolving another primordial chaos tree. The combination of the divine prefecture and the primordial chaos tree caused his Tao to begin to reach perfection. Bam! His minute dust world became a kiliocosm, and as a result, he began to absorb even more of the dust in the land of ash. In addition to that, the power of Wan Senshi and the immortal master system of the One God were also draining away, all of which were being held back by Gu Qinsha. Meanwhile, under the protection of Gu Qinsha, the Xingqiang clan was looking for an opportunity to attack the victorious fighting Celestial. Chapter 776. This kid is really too terrifying. It wasn't just the three old-timers. Deep down, even Xing Qiongshi was terrified of Gu Qinsha. Right now, Xing Qiongshi knew that if he were to fight against Gu Qinsha alone, he would definitely not be able to withstand the other party's refinement, killing, and suppression. Our cooperation is just a facade. He'll plot against me sooner or later, but there's nothing I can do except work with him. Otherwise, the three Celestials will try to refine me. In any case, he can only use my power to deal with the immortal lord, Wan Senshi. As Xing Qiongshi's thoughts spun, his divine god grand magic improved yet again. In the land of ash, the environment was so dangerous that even Celestials would perish here. However, the three old-timers who stood at the peak of the world were actually able to resist the environment and use it to kill their enemies. We can't let him go on like this. He's using his own body to transform into the divine god gourd. He's using the power of the divine god gourd to evolve the Tao of primordial chaos and fuse with the Tao of the divine god gourd to perfect his cultivation base. Celestial victorious battle. The power of your primordial chaos tree is actually nourishing him. It was a mistake for us to lure him into the land of ash. The mist and dust here are the best materials for him to forge items. This allowed him to rapidly transform his own world into a minor dimension, or even a dimensional dimension. Even if a heavenly life realm cultivator wanted to refine a dimensional dimension, they would still need an extremely long period of time to slowly accumulate before they could finally succeed. But he's different. With his Heaven Tao magic, he can create anything and everything. Now that he's a god-level expert, he'll be even more terrifying. The will of the immortal lord was communicating with Wan Senshi and celestial victorious battle. I guess I'll have to use my most powerful attack. Wan Senshi threw his hands up into the air, causing an enormous violet lightning bolt to appear above his head. That lightning bolt contained countless profound things, including the essence of the immortal Tao, the foundation of the immortal Tao. Let's see if you can stand up to the fury of the immortal world. Boy. This move of Wan Senshi's was called the Rage of the Immortal World, and it contained the true rage of the immortal world. Wan Senshi was able to summon the rage of countless fallen immortals, which transformed into a bolt of lightning that locked down onto Gu Qinsha. Gu Qinsha shuddered. He seemed to have seen a huge world dimension that was filled with anger and hostility towards him. That was the world of immortals. He couldn't escape because he knew that this was Wan Senshi's killer move, and it had already locked onto him. Even if he fled to the ends of the earth, he wouldn't be able to escape the wrath of the immortal world. He might as well not resist. Divine Land Gourd, absorb. He withdrew all of his power into the Divine Land Gourd and slowly opened it, aiming the mouth of the gourd at the rage of the immortal world. He was going to devour it as well. When Immortal Master Wan saw this, a cold smile appeared on his face. He pushed with both hands, and the huge immortal world's wrath was pushed out. Whoosh! The rage of the immortal world was absorbed by Gu Qinsha's Divine Land Gourd. Something seemed to explode inside the Divine Land Gourd, as if something inside was disintegrating. Crack, crack! Purple cracks appeared on Gu Qinsha's Divine Land Gourd. No matter how strong you are, you can't resist the will of the entire immortal world. The wrath of the immortal world is enough to seriously injure you. Now's the time. Wan Senshi roared. It's a good time indeed. Kill. Victorious Heavenly Venerate was also surprised by the power of Wan Senshi's rage of the immortal world. However, he didn't have the time to analyze it. He had to deal a fatal blow to Gu Qinsha. Three elements returned to one. Brother Yuan Gu, Brother Pu Tuo, come out. Primordial Strike. Heavenly Yuan, secret kill. At victorious Heavenly Venerate's summon, a tree branch broke through the endless layers of space-time and arrived here. Two figures appeared. One was a middle-aged man wearing a scholar's robe. He held a scroll in his hand and exuded a noble aura. This was Heavenly Venerate Yuan Gu. The other person looked like a man or a woman. He had a beautiful face, and circles of light behind him made him look even more compassionate than a supreme Buddha. This was Heavenly Venerate Pu Tuo. The three Heavenly Venerates had finally appeared in their true forms to kill Gu Qinsha. Heavenly Venerate Yuan Gu and Heavenly Venerate Pu Tuo did not say anything when they appeared. They wanted to end the battle quickly. Buzz, the three Heavenly Venerates suddenly turned into a stream of vital energy and gathered together. Three pure ones returned to one chi. This was the Heavenly Yuan secret kill. With a speed that surpassed everything, it bombarded the area outside of Gu Qinsha's bottle gourd. Bang! Finally, Gu Qinsha's Divine Land bottle gourd could not hold on any longer and exploded. However, at this moment, the three Heavenly Venerates and Wan Senshi were forced back by the explosion of the Divine Land bottle gourd. The Immortal Master wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to attack, but Xing Qiongshi was faster than them. Divine Land invincible. 3,000 transformations. Rumble. Xing Qiongshi turned into a beam of light that engulfed the exploding Gu Qinsha. He turned into a Divine Land bottle gourd again and shot out a dimensional realm that exploded. Xing Qiongshi had just refined a dimensional realm, but after he engulfed Gu Qinsha, he did not hesitate to explode it. How long did it take to refine a dimensional realm? How many opportunities were needed? How many savings? How many materials? But Xing Qiongshi had given up on them just like that. After all, he had obtained Gu Qinsha. The explosive power of the dimensional realm nullified all of the Immortal Master's attacks. Wan Senshi and the three Heavenly Venerates were forced to retreat. Laughing heartily, Xing Qiongshi vanished without a trace. Thank you, everyone. I've finally succeeded. Once I capture that brat and refine him, I'll be the most powerful person in the world. When I appear, I'll definitely reach the Sky Origin Realm. That will be the time for you to submit to me. If you don't, only death awaits you. After him, Heavenly Venerate Victorious Doer shouted. There's no need. Heavenly Venerate Yuan Gu stopped Heavenly Venerate Victorious Doer. It's not like we don't know what Xing Qiongshi is capable of. His cultivation base is much stronger than before, and he can borrow the power of the Divine Land. The world is so big. If he wants to hide, there's nothing we can do. That's true. Heavenly Venerate Victorious Doer nodded and stopped chasing. But he actually took away that kid Gu Qinsha. If he really refines him, I'm afraid no one in this world will be able to do anything to him. It's not that simple, the Immortal Master said. Even the will of the heavenly world couldn't do anything to that kid. Compared to the will of the heavenly world, Xing Qiongshi is nothing more than a firefly. He might be the fiercest person in the Divine Land, but he's still a living being. We've miscalculated this time. That's right. That kid knew that Xing Qiongshi would plot against him, so he intentionally suffered our attacks and allowed Xing Qiongshi to take him away. Xing Qiongshi definitely wouldn't be able to resist refining him and falling into his trap. Wan Senshi said, if that happens, I'm afraid Xing Qiongshi will be the one to refine him. What should we do then? Unfortunately, Xing Qiongshi is truly ruthless. It wasn't easy for him to restore his dimensional realm, but he didn't hesitate to explode it. If he didn't explode, he wouldn't have been able to escape our encirclement, Heavenly Venerate Putuwa said. He abandoned his dimensional realm just like that. The dimensional realm we refined is connected to our own lives. Once we abandon it, our tens of thousands of years of bitter cultivation will go up in smoke. More importantly, we'll lose the foundation of our operations and the source of our sacrifices, Heavenly Venerate Victorious Doer said. Who knows how many years it'll take to refine it again? Xing Qiongshi abandoned it just like that. This must be part of that kid's scheme. Only by using himself As bait, will he be able to force Xing Qiongshi to abandon his dimensional realm and stop us? That kid's schemes are truly terrifying. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do now. Are we supposed to wait for that kid to completely refine Xing Qiongshi? It won't be easy to refine Xing Qiongshi. Heavenly Venerate Yuan Gu narrowed his eyes. I have to admit, that kid has already become our greatest enemy. Then what about Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha? Heavenly Venerate Victorious Doer asked. He's also an extremely terrifying existence. Heavenly Venerate Empyrean Yuan Gu said, narrowing his eyes. However, I have to admit that the kid has already become our greatest enemy. His ambition is unparalleled in this world. Heavenly Venerate Empyrean Yuan Gu said, but now, we need to seize this opportunity to attack the Celestial Calmness Agency. While that kid and Xing Qiongshi are fighting each other, the Celestial Calmness Agency will be leaderless, and we'll overthrow everything under the heavens and proceed according to our plan. Is that so? The Immortal Master suddenly laughed coldly. According to your plan? Then what about my Celestial Designer Institution? The Celestial Designer Institution's goal is to destroy the Celestial Calmness Agency, gain control of the entire Central Divine Prefecture, and establish the ideal nation you want to establish. This ultimate goal is in conflict with our ideals, but we can temporarily join forces and divide up the Celestial Calmness Agency. We'll all benefit. Heavenly Venerate Empyrean Yuan Gu said, have you noticed? Last time, when Gu Chunsha suffered a tribulation, Gu Taxian's medallion didn't have any effect. That means that the heavenly Daos are starting to suppress Gu Taxian, or perhaps both sides are exhausted. A battle on this level might seem completely out of our reach, but by observing the falling leaves, we can foretell autumn. Now that both the heavenly Daos and Gu Taxian are collapsing, that's our best chance. We can break through our shackles and reach a higher level. That's right. Let's temporarily form an alliance, said Heavenly Venerate Empyrean Yuan Gu. One Senshi said, Do Sheng, Primordial Empyrean, Subatuo, the three of you might be juniors to me, but given your current strength, you're definitely qualified to stand on equal footing with me. Chapter 777. I think the matter of the Middle Earth of the Divine Prefecture can wait. It's not that easy to destroy the Celestial Department of Tranquility. Why don't we unify the 72 mystical gates of the Immortal Tao first? One Senshi said, since the three great celestial venerables are interested, then we can immediately carry out the plan. We can also contact many of the aristocratic families and consolidate the major powers. Finally, we can launch a revolution in the Central Divine Prefecture and make the Celestial Tranquility Department the target of public criticism. Only then will we be able to make our move. We must act quickly, starting with the Black Heaven Earth Gate. We have to deal with the Black Heaven Earth Gate, the Celestial Master agreed. Let's start with the Black Gate of Heaven and Earth. Celestial Venerate Victorious Fighter also agreed to this matter. Otherwise, it would be difficult for the Tranquil Immortal Department to deal with the profound immortal sects one by one and absorb them all into the Little Hongmeng tree to strengthen themselves. The Black Heaven Earth sect has another secret. This door connects to the origin of the Eastern Wastelands. The heart of the Eastern Wastelands has a subtle connection with the Black Heaven Earth sect. This is the true foundation of the Black Heaven Earth sect. If we occupy the Black Heaven Earth Gate, we will have a chance to obtain the heart of the Eastern Wasteland, said Heavenly Sovereign Yuan Gu. Then let's begin. Light shone from Empyrean Putua's body as he casually slashed out. Instantly, a passageway appeared in front of him. Through this passageway, he could see the situation of the entire Eastern Wilderness. The entire Eastern Wasteland's vast mountain range was overflowing with celestial chi. There were huge spirit veins everywhere. Who knew how many sects and experts were hidden here? There are also ancient ruins. The Eastern Wilderness belonged to the Immortal Tao. The Eastern Desolate Region's vitality far surpassed that of the Desolate Region, the Desolate Region, and the Desolate Region. The three Celestials, one Senshi and old-timers like the Immortal Lord could see that the Eastern Wilds and the Immortal World were inextricably linked to each other. Immortal energy from the Immortal World flowed into the Eastern Wilds through secret space-time tunnels, as well as countless streams of spiritual energy. The celestial spirit, Chi, nurtured each other and had an extremely strong life force. This made the Eastern Barren Land the best place for cultivation. Therefore, cultivators were all willing to build a Tao field in the Eastern Barren Land. In the very center of the Eastern Wasteland, the dimensional realm of the Black Heaven-Earth sect stood in the center. It constantly seeped into the Eastern Wasteland and formed countless connections with the Eastern Wasteland. Of course, the reason Patriarch Heaven and Earth had established the Black Heaven-Earth sect was to truly obtain the entire Eastern Wasteland. Going against the Eastern Wilderness was the same as going against the Black Sect of Heaven and Earth. Now, the three celestial sovereigns and immortal masters, as well as that old fogey one Senshi, had their sights set on the profound gate of Heaven and Earth. If they could truly understand the relationship between the profound gate of Heaven and Earth and the Eastern Wastelands, they would be able to obtain the Eastern Wasteland's heart in one fell swoop. In addition, there were countless immortal Tao cultivators in the Eastern Wastelands. For instance, Tai Fantasy Sect had opened up a vast plain in the Eastern Wilderness mountain range. The countries on the plain contained billions of people. If the entire Eastern Barren territory was occupied, the population would definitely exceed 100 billion, or even more. At this time, the five old-timers were prepared to devour this juicy piece of meat in one go, because they had the strength to do so. Immortal Master, the management matters will depend on your prehistoric civilization. Emperor Putah said, the Celestial Tranquility Department was able to create the Grand Marshal of the common people. Your prehistoric civilization is the most suitable to create an emotionless Archon. There are hundreds of billions of people in the Eastern Barren Territory, and there are all kinds of complicated forces. If we want to integrate them quickly, we need to do it quickly. This is a small matter. The Immortal Master did not care. The five of them looked at the profound gate of Heaven and Earth and were about to make their move. At this time, something seemed to happen inside the profound gate of Heaven and Earth. In the depths of the giant gate, a mysterious and immeasurable aura wriggled and flourished, as if it was about to descend into the world. What? Emperor Yuan Gu's expression changed. This is the aura of the Patriarch of Heaven and Earth. Is he still alive? If the Patriarch of Heaven and Earth is still alive, if he's still alive, then things will be difficult. Wan Senshi's expression also changed. That old antique was born in the primal chaos before I was. He has many tricks up his sleeve. Even if he's dead, the profound gate of Heaven and Earth he created is still the #1 sect in the Immortal Tao. If he hadn't recruited Gu Taxian into the sect and caused a disaster, the overall strength of the sect would probably be 10 times stronger. That profound heart is the reincarnation of the Endless Heart. It's the 36th treasure of the endless 36 treasures. It's the most mysterious. Although it's not the most powerful, it's the best at managing and winning over people's hearts. If you get it, you can quickly win over people's hearts and make everyone in the sect submit to you. It can even influence other sects and quickly unify all things in the world. In fact, the other 35 treasures of the Endless Heart revolve around it. Even the #1 treasure, the Endless Sword, and the #2 treasure, the Endless Blade, serve the Endless Heart. The Profound Heart has already been resurrected by Gu Tiansha, the Lord of the Sun and Moon. But now that Gu Tiansha is heavily injured, it's possible that the Profound Heart has escaped his control. If that's the case, then we won't be able to control the profound gate of Heaven and Earth. Emperor Victor frowned. No, even if Patriarch Heaven and Earth is resurrected, we can still suppress him. If the 5 of us join forces, there's almost no one in the world who could do anything to us. Wan Senshi said, let's go to the Black Gate of Heaven and Earth first. That's the only thing we can do, the Immortal Lord said, nodding. The 5 old-timers flickered through the land of ashes, then vanished. A moment later, they passed through countless space-time, past countless countries, and arrived at the center of the eastern wastelands, where they saw the black gate of heaven and earth. They ignored all of the restrictive magics of the black gate of heaven and earth and entered the depths of the dimensional world, where they stood in front of the ancient stone gate. 5 honored guests, please forgive me for not coming out to greet you earlier. At this point, a young man appeared in front of the black gate of heaven and earth. It was Xian Xian. Xian Xian bowed deeply to the 5 old-timers, as if he had long since anticipated that they would come. He was tall and slender, with a face like jade and an elegant demeanor. Even when facing the old-timers, he wasn't afraid at all. He knew that they had come to exterminate his sect, but he didn't feel the slightest bit of fear. That's right, boundless heart. Wan Xinchi looked over at Xian Xian. The endless 36 treasures have never appeared in the world before. Now that they're here, they're showing their profundities and profundities. Unfortunately, the reincarnation of the endless umbrella, as well as Fa Wuxian, has been completely stripped away. You need to be careful. If you know we're coming, that means that Patriarch Heaven and Earth has already been resurrected. Our August Patriarch has indeed been resurrected. Xian Xian straightened his back, then smiled and said, "The August Patriarch saw you all plot to kill Gu Qinsha, and then let Gu Qinsha escape. He knew that the Tao of Heaven was changing, and that Gu Qinsha's energy is at its peak. There's no way to deal with him. Therefore, we'll have to wait. There's no need for you to try to subjugate the black gate of heaven and earth. We're willing to join your alliance, and I, Xian Xian, am willing to serve you at your beck and call." Oh, so adaptable. Yuan Gu looked into the depths of the black gate of heaven and earth and roared, "Patriarch Heaven and Earth, since you've been resurrected, come out." As Yuan Gu spoke, light gathered in the depths of the black gate of heaven and earth. Then vital energy flowed, and a large amount of chaotic energy squirmed. In the end, a human figure was formed. This human figure was born from the chaos, and it turned into a boy. The boy seemed to be only 3 years old. He was chubby and round, but his eyes were filled with vicissitudes, as if he could see through the changes of the world and the life and death of all things. This boy was Patriarch Heaven and Earth. "Everyone, I've just been resurrected, and I've comprehended the Tao of chaos, life, and death. Because my Dharma body isn't complete, I look like a boy. Please don't blame me." At this time, the boy spoke. His voice was old and ancient, as if it came from the primordial era. Vaguely, this boy and everyone else seemed to belong to a different space-time dimension. As expected of Patriarch Heaven and Earth, you were actually able to resurrect. A look of astonishment appeared in Immortal Master Wan's eyes. "I really didn't expect this. It seems you borrowed the power of heaven and earth to come back to life." The heavenly Tao changed, and the shackles fell off. I was able to come back to life because of that. Of course, Xian Xian played a part as well. He obtained the endless heart and offered it to me, allowing the will of the heavenly world to bless me. Somehow, my will fused with the primordial chaos, and I was able to manifest the mysteries of good fortune. Patriarch Heaven and Earth cupped his hands of the 5 old-timers. "Celestials, we had a lot of agreements in the past, but that's all gone now. We can join forces to strengthen ourselves. Let's Gu Tiansha and Gu Chansha take us down one by one. If we're divided, we'll be easy to fall. If we work together, we'll be able to fight these freaks. If Patriarch Heaven and Earth says that, then we really can join forces and accomplish great things." The Immortal Master said, "I can't believe Patriarch Heaven and Earth could come back to life. Your resurrection will be far more difficult than the Dharma Saints. It's just a miraculous effect of the heavenly Tao's transformation. Patriarch Heaven and Earth's expression didn't change. Of course, it's thanks to the Dharma Saint and Wu Dangkong that I was able to come back to life. If it weren't for the heavenly sacrificial talisman, I wouldn't have been able to come back to life so easily." Dharma Saint, come out. Buzz, a series of mysterious musical notes appeared. The Dharma Saint and Wu Dangkong came out of the black gate of heaven and earth. The Dharma Saint first cupped his hands at the 5 old-timers. Sirs, there's no need for us to fight among ourselves. Our enemies are the Celestial Tranquility Department, Gu Chun Sha and Gu Tian Sha. Chapter 778. Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tian Sha, almost took control of the black gate of heaven and earth. My orthodoxy would have fallen into his hands. Fortunately, he went to fight the Celestial Pacification Department and lost his core. That's how we escaped. Otherwise, we would have been under his control for all eternity, said Xianxan. Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tian Sha, is truly terrifying. In the face of his tyrannical power, we old-timers have no choice but to band together. If we don't, we won't be a match for him. If we join forces, we can exchange Taoist magics and even create a consummate art that transcends time itself. The forefathers' tone was very sincere. Everyone, let's put aside our past grievances before the arrival of the new age. Together, we will wait for the arrival of a brand new future. The future is not something we can imagine, nor is it something we can calculate. In this kind of situation, if we don't stick together, we will suffer a calamity. If we work together, we can refine any treasure and offer sacrifices to any existence. That existence will evolve to a terrifying level. That's true. If we offer sacrifices together, we can revive a dead sage. Wan Senshi nodded. The people here were all at the Heaven Longevity realm and possessed great destiny. They stood at the pinnacle of countless universes and dimensions. Gods and saints were nothing more than ants in front of them. Any one of them could kill a large group of gods with a flick of a finger. If they gathered together and offered sacrifices to a single object, who knew what would happen to it? A little more, said the forefather. Xin is the reincarnation of the unbounded heart, which is the most important existence of the 36 treasures. We're doing our best to nurture him so that he can unleash his greatest power. That way, he'll be able to attract many of the treasures. Even Celestial Pacification Department's reincarnations will be able to counter them. The unbounded heart's greatest power is to influence the core of the treasures. At the same time, if the unbounded heart can unleash its full power, it'll be able to counter Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha's power of the Sun and Moon. That's why Gu Tiansha revived Xin so quickly and took control of him. At the end of the day, are you still the one who wants us to groom you? The immortal master laughed. Isn't your wishful thinking a little too good? Patriarch Heaven and Earth, our alliance is an alliance, but if you want to take advantage of me, you can forget about it. That's absolutely not the case. Patriarch Heaven and Earth waved his hand. Xin can directly acknowledge you as his master and swear that he will never betray you. In short, the mystic heart doesn't just belong to the Black Heaven Earth sect. It also belongs to the common property of our alliance. In fact, everyone knew that in addition to the 3 dukes and 8 marquises, Fong Lin, Wenhong, and Gu Chansha also had the Endless Umbrella. In other words, the Tranquil Immortal Department has obtained a total of 14 endless treasures. As time passes, the might of the endless treasures will truly be unleashed. At that time, we will be even more unable to suppress them. Therefore, our alliance must obtain other endless treasures. Right now, there are 22 inexhaustible treasures left in this world. If we want to get all of them, Xin can even give up his inexhaustible heart and divide it into 9 parts. All of us here can imprint our will onto it and gain control of one part of it. In this way, we'll be forging a magical treasure together. What do you think? That's doable. The 3 heavenly venerables exchanged glances, and looks of approval appeared on their faces. So many of us have created an alliance, and indeed, we need to forge a treasure together. The best material to forge a treasure is none other than the most mysterious of the 36 endless treasures, the Endless Heart. Even the Black Gate of Heaven and Earth cannot compare to this Endless Heart. The three heavenly venerables naturally wanted to know the secret of the inexhaustible heart. Now that they were given 1/3 of the control for free, they naturally agreed to it. The three heavenly venerables each obtained 1/9 of the control, which was 1/3 in total. Naturally, they had a huge advantage. However, they knew that Patriarch Heaven and Earth was using the control as bait to get them to help Xian Xian cultivate. Nevertheless, the three heavenly venerables believed that they could control the situation and obtain the inexhaustible heart. With the inexhaustible heart, they could use its power to obtain more power and authority from the Hongmeng tree. Their control over the Hongmeng tree was actually very weak at the moment, and they were still a long way from obtaining the entire tree. At most, there were a few parasites on the towering tree. Even now, they were nothing compared to the Hongmeng tree. However, at least they had successfully parasitized the tree, so they had a chance to contend against old antiques like Wan Senshi and the Immortal Master. They had also raised their cultivation to the heavenly life realm. I agree. There's no time to lose. Let's make an oath right now and forge the inexhaustible heart together. Wu Dangkong was the weakest among the old antiques, but she had the heavenly sacrificial talisman, so no one could underestimate her. After all, the heavenly sacrificial talisman was a treasure on par with the Hongmeng tree. Moreover, Wu Dangkong carried it around with her, so she could use much more power than the three heavenly venerables could use the Hongmeng tree. The three heavenly venerables were insignificant parasites to the Hongmeng tree. They didn't have the ability to carry the tree around with them. Therefore, Wu Dangkong had the right to take a slice of the pie. There were 9 people present: the Immortal Master, Wan Senshi, and the three heavenly venerables. That made 5. The Dharma Saint, Wu Dangkong, and 7. Including Patriarch Heaven and Earth and Xian Xian, there were 9 in total. That was why Patriarch Heaven and Earth had divided the inexhaustible heart into 9 parts, and each of the old antiques had control over one. That was the equivalent of taking out the inexhaustible heart to refine into a magical treasure. The treasure would use the inexhaustible heart as its foundation, and then be mixed with all sorts of divination methods. It would definitely be able to shake heaven and earth and suppress all living things. I'll offer up my inexhaustible heart and share it with you all. Xian Xian didn't hold back at all. She opened her mouth and spat out a ball of red light, almost as if she were ejecting her own heart. A fiery red heart appeared, dancing with flames. As soon as it appeared, it shocked everyone present. Countless flames flew continuously, and then transformed into the strongest true meaning of the heaven realm, giving everyone an immense pressure. Everyone, including the Immortal Master and Immortal Teacher Wan, felt that this heart far surpassed their own intrinsic quality. Amazing. As expected of the inexhaustible heart, the most mysterious of the inexhaustible 36 treasures. Even the strongest immortal slaying, God-punishing gourd formed from the Hongmeng tree can't compare. The three heavenly venerables murmured, "Everyone, let us stay here and learn from each other. We will communicate with each other and research Tao techniques. We will be open and honest. Our cultivation levels will improve greatly." Patriarch Heaven and Earth said, "After that, our minds and consciousnesses will communicate, and we'll brew an earth-shattering technique to refine a magical treasure that can suppress all ages." If that's the case, let's begin. The Immortal Master was very interested. She wanted to study the inexhaustible heart. Rumble. The 9 streams of energy entered the inexhaustible heart, and it began to transform. The largest alliance in history was born. At the same time, in the depths of the inexhaustible space-time, Xing Qiongshi entered a secret space-time dimension. No one could find him, and no one could divine his whereabouts. This was a concealment technique that he condensed with all of his will and cultivation base. He turned into the Divine Land Gourd and enveloped all of Gu Chenxi's vital qi. In the end, he stopped in this secret space-time dimension. There were twisted turbulence all around him, and any wrong step would cause him to be lost in the depths of space-time. Ha ha! Xing Qiongshi laughed out loud. Sha, you suffered a joint attack from the three heavenly venerables, the immortal master, and Wan Senshi. Your vital chi was greatly injured, and I saved you. You should repay me this time. I think I should refine 99% of your essence first. I won't kill you, don't worry. Inside the divine land gourd, Gu Chinch's vital chi seemed to have settled down, and there was no sound at all. You should be able to hear and resist. Xing Qiongshurs will said doubtfully. You don't think that I can't refine you, do you? Xing Qiongshur, I taught you the divine land grand magic, and we formed an alliance to fight against the three heavenly venerables. But now you want to refine me? That doesn't seem to be the path of benevolence and righteousness. Gu Chunsha finally spoke. The path of benevolence and righteousness? I am the divine land's #1 fiend. Also, I sacrificed a dimensional realm that I created with great difficulty to self-destruct to save you. If you pay a price for that, won't I suffer a great loss? Don't you want to repay me for saving your life? As Xing Qiongshur spoke, the divine land gourd began to condense, and the sound of boiling magma could be heard from it. It was using a huge amount of power to refine Gu Qinsha. Xing Qiongshur knew that as long as he refined Gu Qinsha, he would definitely be able to break through to the divine origin stage. Is that so? Gu Qinsha's voice suddenly rang out from within the gourd. Xing Qiongshur, do you really think that old fogies like Wan Senshi, the immortal master, and the three heavenly venerables can hurt me? I knew that working with you was like asking a tiger for its skin. You would seize the opportunity to refine me, so I had no choice but to do the exact opposite. I had to lure you into my trap and refine your entire body into a divine land gourd. That way, I would be able to accomplish what I couldn't accomplish in the dream world. In the dream world, I only refined your head into a divine land gourd. Now that I've captured your true body, the divine land gourd will definitely become the #1 treasure. The divine land's #1 fiend, the creator of the divine land grand magic. There is no better material to refine a divine land gourd. Chapter 779. Crack. Xingqiong's divine land bottle gourd emitted the sound of wind and thunder, and it was almost as if heaven and earth were about to be destroyed. I know you have some tricks up your sleeve, boy, but do you really think you can turn the tables? When Xing Qiongshur saw that Gu Chansha was actually fighting back, he couldn't help but laugh coldly. You're a natural oddity. You're the most important person in this tribulation. I didn't think I'd refine you in such a hurry, but you're too naive if you think you can trick me just because of that. Immortal Master Wan, and the others all have trump cards, but do you think I don't? Fine, I'll show you what it means to be the divine land's #1 fiend. Rumble. Under Xing Qiongshur's summons, more than 10 figures appeared behind him. All of these figures possessed extremely precious auras. That was the aura of the ancients. Years ago, Xing Qiong had been wreaking havoc in the central divine prefecture, and not even the ancients had been able to suppress him. In fact, he'd torn many of them to shreds, and in the end, everyone was furious. The immortals, devils, demon gods, 3 celestials, and many other old-timers had banded together and used tribulation from the heavens to crush Xing Qiong into pieces. However, the ancient heavenly sons that Xing Qiongshur had torn apart were refined by him into some sort of miraculous existence. Gu Qinsha, boy, I'll tell you this. I was the one who created the divine land grand magic. Even if you're trying to innovate, the core of it is still mine. That was Emperor Gu. The reason I risked universal condemnation and killed Emperor Gu was because I wanted to truly master the divine prefecture grand method. Since ancient times, only the emperor who controlled the divine prefecture and was acknowledged by the heavenly sacrifice decree could be the emperor. From this, it can be seen that the emperor and the divine prefecture of the central plains are inextricably linked. The emperor is born from the most central destiny of the divine prefecture. Killing the Son of Heaven and obtaining the Son of Heaven's fate energy and origin will allow me to better control the divine continent. It's still too early for you to completely obtain the secrets of the divine continent. I'll let you know what the true divine continent's great technique is now. Xingqiang summoned more than 10 ancients he'd killed, and they all activated some sort of secret magic. Crack, crackle. Xingqiang's divine land gourd expanded tenfold. It was 10 times stronger than before. The ancients were inextricably linked to the central divine prefecture, and after being refined by Xingqiang into the divine land grand magic, it could instantly unleash its true power. The divine land had appeared. An enormous divine land appeared, converging in the sky and pouring into the gourd. In the blink of an eye, the divine land became something that could crush all things. Ancients Tianzi. As expected, this is the trump card of the Xingqiang clan. It's indeed powerful, but you're going further and further down the wrong path. I've said it before, the divine prefecture is about offering and sacrificing, not plundering and killing. When you killed the Gu Tianzi, you wanted to devour the Gu Tianzi and activate the power of the divine prefecture. This is an extreme idea, but it can also achieve good results. However, you're going down the wrong path. You're going against the divine prefecture, and the divine prefecture will definitely come back to bite you. If you hadn't used the ancients, it would have taken me a lot of effort to do anything to you. But now that you've used them, you're seeking your own death. Then Gu Chencha's voice echoed out from the vital energy. Rest in peace, Tianzi. Rest in peace, ancient sons of heaven. You control the divine prefecture, nurture the people, and have great merit. However, you were killed by the villains, and your grievances cannot be vented. I will now relieve you of your suffering and return you to the divine prefecture. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. You are a part of the central divine prefecture, and I cannot allow you to be captured by the villains. Rumble. A sacrificial power emanated from Gu Chencha's body. Gu Chencha was offering sacrifices to the ancients. His current sacrifice could resurrect the saints, because he devoured the essence of the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Chencha. With this sacrifice, all of the ancient Xingqiang had used seemed to be liberated. More than 10 ancients bowed to Gu Chencha. Then they vanished, piercing through the boundless dimensions to enter the divine land of the central continent, where they became one with it. At this point, the people of the central continent could see more than 10 beams of dazzling light shooting down from the heavens, landing in the imperial palace of the old capital of the divine land, and then vanishing without a trace. Countless experts and old-timers immediately began to perform divinations, but none of them were able to come up with anything. However, these beams of light were auspicious energy, not evil. Anyone with the slightest bit of cultivation would be able to tell that. What? My ancients? Xingqiang was shocked. You? Gu Chencha, what did you do? I didn't do anything. I've said it before, this is a clash of ideas between our divine continent's great dharma. My divine continent's great dharma is about risk and sacrifice, while your divine continent's great dharma is about plunder and evil. In short, I win people over with virtue, while you win people over with killing. This is understandable, but the divine continent's central planes are not people, it's the earth. Therefore, when our ideals clashed, you lost. Your divine lands were wrong, and you took a wrong path. In the end, you ended up opposing the divine lands, causing the wrath of the heavens and the resentment of the people. Meanwhile, the divine lands and I help each other, support each other, share weal and woe, and treat each other with sincerity. That's how all living beings are united. The divine lands are also living beings, and they have feelings and thoughts. Although their feelings and ways of thinking are different from ours, they truly are one of them. That's not to be doubted. Gu Chencha suddenly moved, summoning even more power from the divine lands. Rumble. He had turned the tables. The power of the divine lands completely suppressed Xingqiang's divine lands. Xingqiang suddenly realized that he couldn't summon the power of the divine lands anymore. It was as if the divine lands of the central continent had developed some sort of hatred for him, and even wanted to kill him as soon as possible. This was Xingqiang's sin. As the foremost fiend of the divine lands, he'd done many things to throw the divine lands into chaos. He'd tried to use his own power to suppress and refine the divine lands. Originally, he should have been able to ignore this kind of sin, but now that Gu Chansha had appeared and activated the will of the divine lands, Xingqiang was completely unable to suppress it. Gu Chencha's divine continent grand magic completely countered Xingqiang clan's divine continent grand magic. Gu Chensha was supported by the divine lands, and they treated each other with sincerity. Xingqiang was hated by the divine lands, and his sins were monstrous. As a result, it was clear who had won and who had lost. Xingqiang, this is your mistake. I didn't imprison you, but your own sins. You can't take your karma away with you. Today is the day you and the divine lands of the central continent come to an end. Gu Chensha suddenly broke free from Xingqiang's divine land gourd. He then grabbed the gourd, and the power of the divine lands in his hand was unprecedentedly powerful. Crack, crack! Countless seals, innumerable talismans, and innumerable restrictive spells surged out of Gu Chencha's palm, and they were all thrown into the gourd that Xingqiang had transformed into. Xingqiang roared in fury, but he couldn't break free. He was hated by the divine lands, and the power of the divine lands had locked onto him. He couldn't break free no matter what. What are you trying to do, Gu Chansha? Even if you refine me into the divine continent gourd, you won't be able to kill me. You'll only be using me as a treasure. In fact, you'll be using me as a treasure to do many things in the future. That way, I'll be able to increase my power. One day, I'll be able to escape. When that time comes, it'll be the time of your death. Xingqiang suddenly calmed down, as if he had found a way to escape. I'm not going to kill you. I'm actually helping you. Gu Chensha grabbed the gourd and poured the power of the divine lands into it to refine Xingqiang. At the same time, he sighed. Your divine land grand magic has gone astray. If you keep this up, the divine lands of the central continent won't be able to tolerate you any longer, and then they'll devour you and kill you. But now, I've saved you. I've pulled you back from the brink of cultivation deviation. You might not be able to accept it right now, but that's fine. I'll use this divine land gourd you have transformed into to save the divine lands and establish a civilization. You'll make a great contribution to the divine lands of the central continent, and I'll gradually gain their recognition. Then I'll dispel the aura of sin in you. That way, your karma will be cleansed, and you'll gain enlightenment. You'll be able to step into a higher realm. Once you've cleansed yourself of your sins and change your mind, you'll be reborn and free. Xingqiang, why would I kill you? Even if you're my enemy, I'll make them repent. I won't kill them. For example, that Fa Wuxian. Isn't he still alive? Your ideals are wrong, boy. I'm right. I conform to the natural laws of the heavenly Taos. The weak are prey to the strong, and only the fittest survive. That's why my divine land grand magic is deathless and indestructible. You only have the upper hand temporarily. Xingqiang's voice rumbled. He definitely wouldn't compromise. Chapter 780. The heavenly Tao was not the highest. The era of breaking the restraints of the heavenly Tao was coming. At that time, all the laws would change, and all the truths would be overturned. The conventions that everyone knew would be completely broken. Gu Chensha was looking forward to seeing what would happen in an era without the heavenly Tao. However, he also had to deal with the tribulation brought about by the collapse of the heavenly Tao. Just like in a mortal world, the collapse of a court would bring about a complete loss of order and chaos. The people would have no way to live, and war would break out everywhere. At that time, an unparalleled hero would be needed to set things right and restore order. The collapse of a dynasty was already so terrifying, let alone the collapse of the heavenly Tao, which had ruled over countless worlds and space-time since ancient times. The chain reaction brought about by this collapse was not something Gu Chansha could control, but he had to guard against such a situation. Therefore, he did everything he could to raise his strength. Xingqiang was completely refined into the divine land gourd by him, and his strength increased once again. Gradually, as the power of the divine land flowed in, Xing Qiongshi could no longer cause trouble and could only lie dormant. But now, even Gu Qinsha could not destroy Xing Qiangshi's will. Xing Qiongshi was not the North Star Nation. The North Star Nation was only at the heavenly venerable level, while Xing Qiongshi was at the peak of the heavenly longevity realm. If he did not use any treasures or methods and only relied on his own strength, even the immortal Lord and Wan Xinshi would be at a disadvantage in front of the divine land's #1 fierceness. Therefore, Gu Qiansha could not destroy Xing Qiangshi's will. And he did not want to destroy it, because if he did, the divine land gourd would lose its spirituality and would not be able to raise its power to its peak. Xing Qiongshi was the creator of the divine land's great laws, but his ideals were wrong and he had committed many sins. Not only was he not recognized by the divine land, but he was also hated by the divine land. Gu Qinsha wanted to resolve this. If he could not kill Xing Qiongshi, he would have to make up for his mistakes. This way, not only could he make up for the shortcomings of the divine land, but he could also convert Xing Qiongshi and increase his faith power. Killing Xing Qiongshi would not have that many benefits. If he could change Xing Qiangshi's mind and thoughts, Gu Qinsha's cultivation would improve tremendously. Moreover, if Xing Qiongshi were to wake up and worship the sphere of the common people's wish and the little Hongmeng tree, how much benefit would that bring? Xing Qiongshi was a peerless ancient being, and his fate was unique as well. He was a hen that laid golden eggs. If they killed him, they would at most be able to eat a decent meal of chicken, but if they kept him alive, they would be able to lay golden eggs every day. Even if Gu Qiansha was brainless, he would still be able to tell which one was more worthwhile. It didn't take long for the divine land gourd to completely take shape. This was Xing Qiangshi's entire body. The current Xing Qiong clan was much more powerful than the Xing Qiong clan in the dream world, so the divine land gourd that Gu Qiansha had refined was more than 10 times more powerful than the Xing Qiong clan in the dream world. Moreover, the Gu Qiansha in the dream world didn't reach God realm. Now, Gu Qiansha's cultivation was at the Tao realm 32 transformation, one thought connecting to heaven. He was close to a saint. He even swallowed the source of the Lord of Sun and Moon, Gu Qiansha. Gu Qiansha stood in the depths of the chaotic space flow. No space storms or universe tides could do anything to him. He held the divine land gourd and tossed it. Instantly, a bright light shot out from the divine land gourd, causing space to dissipate. In the end, many things appeared from a hidden space node. A pitch-black ball was sucked into the gourd. Gu Qiansha saw that there were many treasures in the pitch-black sphere. There were cardinal treasures left behind by the ancient heavenly suns and true God positions. This was Xing Qiangshi's treasure. Back then, Xing Qiangshi had killed many ancient emperors. Naturally, he had obtained the treasures of the ancient emperors. Apart from that, Xing Qiangshi had also killed many real gods. He had obtained their treasures and the position of real gods. Back then, Gu Qiansha had wanted to obtain the true god position of the gods of 5 seasons. He had gathered them and given them to Lu Yu and the others. Now the 5 of them had all cultivated to the deity level. It was a pity that they hadn't been able to obtain the true god position. This was something they were lacking. He had repeatedly made deals with Xing Qiongshi, but Xing Qiongshi had never given him the true god position of the gods of 5 seasons. This time, he had completely sealed Xing Qiongshi. Xing Qiangshi's treasures naturally belonged to him. The true god, throne of the gods of the 5 seasons, and many treasures all belonged to him. So, after obtaining the treasures, he crossed many space barriers, and in the next moment, he arrived at the common people's wish ball. From an outsider's point of view, the common people's wish ball was only the size of a fist. It looked like an apple hanging on the 3-foot-tall Little Hongmeng tree. However, the interior of the common people's wish ball had more space and more resources. It even had the aura of a greater Kiliacosm. Of the 36 treasures, 14 belonged to the calming immortal department. By activating these treasures, the calming immortal department could absorb the energy of the heavenly realm to make up for the flaws of the common people's wish ball. This greatly increased the ball's defensive and offensive power. Furthermore, the world had shrunk. The huge world tree had turned into a little Hongmeng tree, which made it easier to hide. The little Hongmeng tree was now only a meter long. If it was hidden in the depths of space, no antique would be able to find it. This was different from the Warlock Saint's dimensional realm. All of the Dharma realms were extremely large. As long as one was a god-level expert, they would be able to see the towering dimensional realm that floated in space and time. When an elephant was the size of an ant, but possessed its original strength, it was terrifying. The calming immortal department was in such a state. Many of the old-timers had been on tenterhooks when they saw the world tree transform into the lesser primordial tree and vanish. That was because they couldn't see the existence of the calming immortal department, and they didn't know what it was doing. Therefore, they were constantly worried that the calming immortal department would attack them, and they didn't dare to act blindly without thinking. Congratulations, Your Highness, on subduing the Xingqiong clan. Longevity God was the first to arrive. When he saw Gu Chunsha with the divine land gourd, he was overjoyed. This time, our calming immortal department will soar. From now on, there will be no more obstacles. It's not that optimistic. Gu Chunsha waved his hand. Lu Yu, Qin Zhen, Zhou Bu, Jiao Yang, and Mo Chao. The five of you, step forward. Yes, Your Highness. The five of them flew over and knelt on one knee. They had all become divine-level experts, and their cultivation bases were surging. In the future, there would be no obstacles for them to become sages. This was because Gu Chunsha had obtained the sacred dragon's qi many years ago, and then used this sacred dragon's qi to deduce a portion of the sacred dragon's heart sutra, and then used the sacred dragon's heart sutra to turn the five of them into natural sages. Now, if Gu Chunsha had the qi of the sacred dragon, he would be able to deduce more of the sacred dragon mantra. He could even directly find the location of the raging desolate dragon gate and enter it to obtain the complete version of the sacred dragon mantra. He had already put this matter on the agenda and was going to get it done soon. So. 5 true gods had appeared. The 5 of them seemed to have undergone a complete transformation. Their cultivation bases rose steadily, and their auras, lifespans, and even the intrinsic nature of their life force, as well as their karmic luck, were all completely different. They had become true gods and were no longer ordinary deity-level experts. The calming immortal department now had 6 true gods, and the strongest was Longevity God. He had the true gods' thrones of fortune, prosperity, and longevity, and his cultivation base had reached the peak of the 36 transformations. He was in the realm of embodiment transformation. Furthermore, his combat prowess was far beyond that of other old-timers in the same realm. For example, the Black Heaven Earth Gate's sect master, Xian Xiudao, had long since reached the peak of the 36 transformations. He had countless secret magics and moves, but if he fought with Longevity God, he would only be humiliating himself. The combined power of fortune, prosperity, and longevity had already surpassed that of ordinary true gods. Moreover, the authority wielded by the fortune, and longevity gods had an extremely tyrannical allure to all living beings. Even if it was just a business among the common people, no matter if it was the fortune god, or longevity god, they all had a large number of believers. Although the current fortune and longevity god didn't spread his teachings, anyone who worshipped the calmness immortal department had the desire to obtain the 3 perfections of fortune, and longevity. In the following years, he would be the most likely person to comprehend the Tao of Divergent and even advance to the celestial venerable realm. 5 seasons replacement. Longevity God saw Lu Yu and the others obtain the true God's thrones and then soar into the sky. Then, the entire dimensional world in the sphere of the common people's wish changed the seasons even more perfectly. Longevity God nodded. The dimensional world has the 5 seasons God's thrones, so it is a real world. From now on, our dimensional world will be even more solid and rich than some of the old-timers. That's inevitable. Lu Baiwa looked at the divine landlord. I didn't expect that although Chansha didn't subdue the Heavenly Craft Institution, he still obtained the Xing Qiong clan. But now we have a new problem. I've already inquired about some things. Immortal Master, Wan Senshi, Dharma Saint, Wu Dangkong, and the Black Heaven Earth Gates, 3 celestial venerables have all joined together. They formed an alliance to refine a world-shaking magical treasure, which uses the endless heart as its foundation. Chapter 781. Tails Lu Yu, Qian Zhen, Zhou Bu, Jiao Yang, and Mo Chao had now become the gods of the 5 seasons. They rotated the 5 seasons, spring, summer, hot autumn, and winter. They moved the ancient 5 seasons into the dimensional realm's common people's wish sphere. After the 5 seasons changed within the sphere, all sorts of solar terms were born, and the growth of all things became more orderly. All sorts of spirit herbs were born, and even the vitality of animals was no longer chaotic. In fact, even the minds of the living beings living within the sphere had stabilized. If there was no colorful changing of seasons in a world, the creatures living in it would feel monotonous over time. Loneliness would form in their hearts, and it would be extremely disadvantageous to their cultivation. In the end, they might even go crazy. Only a rich and colorful life could nourish the hearts of all living beings, making them feel comfortable and comfortable. This was the best environment for them. This was the meaning behind the gods of the 5 seasons joining the common people's wish sphere. Now, the living beings living in this sphere had the 3 perfect lives of fortune, prosperity, and longevity. Their production and accumulation abilities far surpassed those of other dimensional realms. It could be said that even the dimensional realms created by Wan Senshi, the Immortal Master, and the 3 Empyreans, which had been accumulating since ancient times, might not be able to compare to the Coming Xian Department's dimensional realm. The Coming Xian Department hadn't been cultivating this dimensional realm for many years, but it was comparable to those old fogies who had been accumulating for tens of thousands of years. This was destiny. They had grasped this opportunity. In a few more years, our dimensional realm will begin to evolve into a boundless realm. As Lu Baiwei looked at the changes occurring in the dimensional realm, he couldn't help but sigh. This is also thanks to the fact that 14 of the 36 endless treasures have fallen into the hands of our Celestial Commerce Division. We need to collect more endless treasures. Gu Qinsha was not satisfied. This is the only way to restrain the Master of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha. Although I took away 1/10 of this person's origin, the remaining 90% is still very terrifying. If his cultivation increases again, he can activate the power of the Heavenly Tao and Father Emperor and completely fuse them. At that time, we won't be able to resist unless I become a sage or even a celestial lord. As Gu Qinsha spoke, he waved his hand and hundreds of powerful magic tools flew out. They gathered into a beam of light that wandered through the dimensional realm. All of these treasures were connate spirit treasures, primeval treasures. They had been collected from the Xingqiong clan's treasury, refined by the ancient Son of Heaven, and created by many true gods. In short, what kind of foresight did the Xingqiong clan have? The treasures that he was interested in were all existences that could shake the heavens and the earth. Compared to the treasures that Gu Chansha had obtained from many aristocratic families, the quality was much better. The Xingqiong clan's treasury had been plundered clean by Gu Chansha, and the Celestial Commerce Department's haul surpassed any other time in history. Not even the Lord of 7 Stars, Jiang Gongwang's treasure trove, had this much. Although Jiang Gongwang was the Lord of 7 Stars' assistant to the Son of Heaven, he wasn't a celestial. He was at the peak of the Tao realm's 36 transformations. The power of the treasures he could create was limited. However, Xing Qiongshi was different. He was once at the heavenly longevity realm, surpassing the Empyrean realm, unrivaled throughout the heavens. The treasures he could create and obtain naturally far surpassed Jianggongwang's. These hundreds of primeval treasures all surpassed the Wanxiang shattering staff. It could be said that even if dozens of saint aristocratic families and the profound immortal Dao Gate were combined, they still wouldn't be able to find so many treasures of such quality. The treasures turned into streaks of light that danced in the air for a moment before being absorbed by the little Hongmeng tree. After absorbing so many treasures, the little Hongmeng tree couldn't help but shine with light, causing space-time to ripple. Countless runes began to flow within it. Gu Qinsha hung the divine prefecture gourd up. Streams of pre-heaven essence were poured into the divine prefecture gourd, making it even more agile and ethereal. It was completely different from the Xing Qiong clan style. The divine prefecture gourd's power is probably above that of the immortal slaying, God-executing gourd. Zhuvia clicked his tongue in praise. We used the Xing Qiong clan's body and treasures to refine the divine prefecture gourd using the power of the divine prefecture. This power is enough to devour countless demon regions. Even if the true gods in the sky break out of their seals due to the tremors of heaven and earth, they won't be able to threaten us. This gourd isn't complete yet. The Xingqiang clan's will is still within it, refusing to submit or change its mind. I still need to find a treasure to suppress it. The immortal slaying, God-executing gourd is the strongest treasure that the Hongmeng tree can condense, and it's the only one of its kind. Its power is far beyond this. It's not much weaker than an endless treasure. It has many other mysteries within it. It can even evolve continuously. I need to obtain this gourd, refine it, and fuse it with the divine prefecture gourd. Only then will I be able to reach the peak. Gu Qinsha had everything planned out. Right now, we have many things to do, but the most important thing is to rescue Chang Weiyang. Did Chang Weiyang really die? Liu Baiyue asked hurriedly. More or less, but she didn't die completely. Gu Qinsha said, according to my calculations, when she ascended to the heavenly venerable realm, the three heavenly venerables used their power to destroy her origin, and only a remnant soul was left, which was completely imprisoned. Right now, she's hovering between the dead and the undead. Actually, you can say that she's already dead, but as long as she cultivates to the saint realm, there's a chance for her to be resurrected, as long as there's enough sacrificial power to exchange with the heavenly Daos. However, in the future, when the heavenly Daos weaken, I'm afraid that even if there's enough sacrificial power, the dead won't be able to be resurrected. So we need to hurry. We need to obtain Chang Weiyang's remnant soul. Then, we can restore her power. That's right. Before the heavenly Daos weakened, they were omnipotent. With sacrificial power, they could do anything. But now that the heavenly Daos have weakened, some saints, like the Dharma saint, have taken the opportunity to resurrect, taking advantage of a loophole. But as the heavenly Daos continue to weaken, the situation might be completely different. Those who died now can't be resurrected, and those who died in the past can be released. Chaos. The entire world is in chaos. Heavenly Master Martial Saint shook his head. I can't predict what the world will be like in the future. Let's obtain the immortal killing gourd and save Chang Weiyang at the same time. Gu Qinsha thought for a while. However, before that, I have to do something to stabilize people's hearts. Although the mysterious sect of the universe has surrendered to us, we didn't intervene in the internal affairs of the mysterious sect. Now that Chang Weiyang has disappeared for a long time without any news, if it's spread that she was murdered, the entire mysterious sect of the universe will be restless. So, I have to resurrect Chang Yuzhou now. Resurrect saints. Tai Xuandu was also present. Your Highness, can you resurrect saints at will now? Then, can Tai Heavenly Lord, the founder of our Tai fantasy sect, be resurrected too? Even Patriarch Heaven and Earth has been resurrected. Tai Heavenly Lord should be resurrected. Tai Xuandu was the sect master of Tai fantasy sect. Naturally, he wanted to resurrect Patriarch Heaven and increase the strength of Tai fantasy sect. One had to know that Tai Heavenly Lord was a true ancient Heavenly Lord level powerhouse. He was plotted against by the three Heavenly Lords and fell. However, no matter what, he could resurrect by taking advantage of the weakened Heavenly Tao. I can resurrect a saint now, but I still need to rely on the power of the sacrifices of the entire nation. With my own strength, it will be very difficult. But I can't resurrect an Empyrean unless I go one step further and cultivate to the saint realm. At that time, the things I comprehend will be different. Perhaps if we work together, we can do it. Guqinsha said, "Now, we have two heavenly lords in the tranquil immortal department, many god-level cultivators, as well as the three grand dukes and 8 marquises of the endless 36 treasures and Uncle. Apart from that, there are also the god of longevity, the god of 5 seasons, the azure dragon, the white tiger, the vermilion bird, and the black tortoise. There are also some reincarnated stars, peerless geniuses, and geniuses. If I gather the power of sacrifices from these people and extract it, I can create some power to resurrect heavenly lords. However, if I want to complete the last step, I still need something crucial." Rumble. Guqinsha made a grabbing motion. Suddenly, within the dimensional realm sphere, there was a special space to store the power of sacrifices. A huge amount of sacrificial power was controlled by Guqinsha and turned into a ball of light. Guqinsha poured his own power into it and began to extract it. Many of the impurities in one's mind were extracted and processed. Gradually, this ball of light became very pure. It faintly turned into a shadow of Chang Yujo. Guqinsha began his own sacrifice. His sacrificial power was pure and boundless. It was carried by the power of the heavenly Daos and could communicate with the heavenly Daos. This was the same as Guqinsha. After gathering the huge sacrificial power, Guqinsha waved his hand, and the sacrificial power fused into the depths of the heavenly Tao and disappeared. Then, the huge sacrificial power caused a long roar. In the void, countless wills were released and gradually gathered into a shadow. It was Chang Yujo, the founder of the Black Gate of the universe, the first person to rebel against the Black Gate of heaven and earth. Chang Yujo had actually been resurrected. He had long since made arrangements on Guqinsha's body. He had once passed on all his memories and cultivation experience to Guqinsha so that Guqinsha's cultivation would be nourished. "Thank you for your help, Your Highness, for resurrecting me." As soon as Chang Yujo was resurrected, he knew what had happened. He bowed to Guqinsha. "I never thought that in just a few short years, Your Highness would be able to resurrect me and allow me to be reborn. This is the best opportunity in the great calamity. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.